has just got home as well,
I'm
so
here.
that's perfect.
Hi, everybody. Jeff's here, but he's just walked away.
Hi, folks.
Getting a beer.
Yes.
Yeah,
Get
turning
all
off
the
my
beer in.
refrigerator. Somebody remind me that the refrigerator's off.
Uh-oh. Well,
No,
better than
no.
having the hot water off.
No,
I've got the man
I'm
coming
doing that on
tomorrow.
purpose.
Usually the joke is your refrigerator is running, Jeff.
Yeah, go.
I don't really know what you could do with your refrigerators off.
He doesn't like the noise it makes. You know,
guys can talk to
he's
him.
such an audio perfectionist. Hi, Robot Tunes from Ottawa. Hi from Toronto. Andrew.
Hi,
from
Robot
Andrew.
Tunes. Is that a robocaller?
Steph will be very pleased that she's got a
Yeah, Andrew, we've got your
Chicago run.
feedback in the lineup today, but I don't know if we'll make it. You know, we've been
Who?
struggling to get to a lot of feedback, but
Who's that?
okay. Andrew in Ottawa, you know, the winter thing he sent in from Ottawa.
Oh, yeah, I hope we do. We have a video of him on his first solo landing.
I'll just skip the plain
think.
tale, Jeff, and I'll go to bed.
Okay. Good night.
Bye.
Bye!
Just leave your chair there, though. It's nice to
Right.
look at in the garden.
It's amazing. It's like 9:30 and it's still so bright out in Nick's garden there.
It is.
amazing, isn't it?
Wow. It must be like a fancy lighting system he has there.
I
I'd like to
guess,
see
yeah.
him try to back up and sit on that chair.
I'm waiting.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm back.
literally sit.
That. I would be impressed with that.
That would be.
But did you hear it's got heated massage and everything? It sounds pretty Does it have a plug-in for your phone? Like, does it have a charging port? and all
No,
that
no,
stuff?
but there's a hole in the seat, so you don't have to get up if you want to go to the toilet.
Wow. I'm thinking you might be sharing a little bit more than you
Yeah,
do.
TMI.
These Norwegians, they think of everything.
Yeah, I have Scandinavian heritage, so I understand.
Steffi,
Kind of,
hi,
we're
Steph.
kind of perverse. Oh, Steph.
Hi, Steph.
Hi.
Well,
Wow.
actually, we should say hola. Hola, Steph.
Hola.
Hold on.
Yes, very pink today. You match your Jeep.
Yes. Try. It's a theme. I didn't wear my pink sunglasses, though. I have some of those somewhere.
That would have been very cool.
Yeah. I'm quite warm because it's like 80 degrees outside, but I was trying
Now,
to...
did you have
Stop.
some pretty nasty
Stop
storms
now.
yesterday? Steph?
just a lot of rain. It rained a lot,
Yeah, okay.
and my boat tried to sink, but that's fun.
Oh, boy.
I think we're
bailed it out.
we're supposed to have some rain later,
We're supposed to
some
have
storms.
thunderstorms
Yeah,
later
I
on
have-
we're supposed to
today.
have rain, but not
I had the
storm.
My Radar thing on my television screen in the background, kind of just monitoring that. But you'll know because if the rain starts coming down, it'll make a racket
hear
in
it.
this place.
Your nice metal roof, yeah. Mhm.
Yep.
Yeah, we're supposed to get some thunderstorms.
There's
this
Mr.
evening.
Towler in New Zealand. Hi, Glenn.
Hi, Sal. Sal is there.
Sal Gamboni in Philly area, I think.
Tim. Hello, Tim.
Let's see. Basic. Aperture priority.
And
How's the exposure on the video?
Lanwan, good evening to you,
Good.
sir.
Looks good. Steph's a little dark, but I guess that's
Yep.
just the way it is.
It'll get better once it's, well, I don't know. It's too bright
I need
outside
to
at
I
the
need to
moment.
send you a good camera. The one that
My
I'm
camera's
using
pretty
here.
good. The problem is my lighting's terrible in here.
Yeah, well then maybe I'll send you a lamp.
I have lamps.
A torch. Just send her a torch. Oh, you flashlight.
The problem
Sorry.
really is that window behind me. I need a darker curtain for it.
Yeah.
That's right. Throw the entire room into darkness. That'll work.
Jeff
Actually,
will
it
send
will.
over a window covering specialist to order new drapes for you, I'm sure.
Who?
You.
Me? Oh. Yes, I'm sure that I'll do that.
Yeah, I'm sure you will. Well, you were the one suggesting new lighting and stuff.
I know. I don't want to. Let's don't get all crazy. I need to.
Okay.
I need to like send over somebody to create a whole new studio for Steph.
Why?
Why don't we build her
I'm
a
just
new
kidding.
house?
I'm not going to do
We'll
that.
just build her
Yeah,
a new house.
exactly.
I do need a new house.
Okay.
Yeah,
set
let's
the
do
new
that.
House fund.
And the coffee
So-
fund will no.
Yeah, coffee.
I'm sure the coffee
house.
fund can cover it.
No.
So we know Nick
it's-
C has to leave shortly. So are we going to get
Okay.
going and say
Yes,
Yeah.
Yes,
and,
we
and
should.
I will have to leave at some point as well. early.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
So let
And
everybody
Nick's-
know that's
both
here
Nicks wanna leave.
live.
Yeah.
Yeah, everybody's going to leave me.
Sorry.
I'm not.
I'm not.
I'm
Okay.
not going anywhere.
Well, at some point you will, Captain Nick, right? You're not going to stay for the entire show.
Well, I'll
be
try
here
to.
till
I'll
the
see how it
bitter
goes.
end.
All right.
It's only if I get overly fatigued.
All right.
Hi,
Do
I
a
think
quick
that's
sound
Tony,
check.
Aviators. Hi, Tony.
You're listening to the Airline Pilot Guy Show.
Sounds
View
tick
from our
VG.
side of the cockpit door.
Does that mean good?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay to me.
Didn't your school teacher put a tick on your work and then type VG for very good?
No.
Obviously
I
not
always
on
got a-
Jeff. You got to
like
We
a
got
gold
gold
star,
stars and smiley
Smiling
faces.
face. And
God, what does a smiley face mean?
Good.
Okay.
good work.
You made her smile
means-
or him smile.
And then I remember my kindergarten teacher used to always say to me,
Sri Vijaya.
Little did you know you'd need that later in life.
Yes.
wow.
I never knew you were cunning lingual. Oh, sorry, multilingual.
That's a
Okay,
that's
let's
a
get
Saturday
going.
Night Live
Well.
sketch as well.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, you know what I need to do? Because I didn't think all of you were going to be here at the
Recorders?
very
Anybody
opening.
got recorders on?
Oh,
No.
yeah. That's what I was just about to say. We should probably start our recorders.
Wait, Steffi, has your doggy recovered
I've
from?
got to go and buy a recorder one day, you know.
They're taking turns being
Oh,
sick
great.
on things. It's Taco's turn.
That would be
now.
funny.
So I left the door open all day today, and they didn't apparently harass the neighbors too much. So that's good.
Hooray! Did they harass the deer?
I don't know. I wasn't here. I just
you
let them
mean
do their
don't
own
have
thing in
a
the backyard all day long.
CCTV?
Like, out of sight, out of mind. She
I do,
didn't
but
care.
it's inside. I do have an outdoor one. I just haven't installed it yet. So
Don't tell the burglars that.
Yeah,
I'll have to go
everyone.
install it
Steph's
right
address
now.
is.
yeah. No, good luck. You can't even find my house in the first place, and my neighbors.
Even if you have the
my neighbors
address.
will. Yeah, even if you have the address, just ask
Got
Amazon.
some
They fail.
major
all the
find
time.
it.
neighborhood watch.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And,
and
your
also
neighbours
my
all have
neighbors
50
are all-
caliber machine guns
They do, yeah, and they're home all the time. They don't leave.
Yep.
They work from home.
poking
so
out the
good luck.
windows.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're very protective
luck
of
to
what
ya.
goes on around here. Yeah, so I feel pretty secure. Also, my
All
dogs
right.
are vicious
Ready?
creatures.
Yep.
Sorry.
I'm ready.
Recorder's going.
Recorders on.
On.
And I don't know. Steph, yours is on.
Yes.
Jeez.
Right after I muted myself, you had to ask me that.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I thought you were going to start.
I'm thinking, why is she not talking?
Well, you're not looking at the screen either. I gave you.
Well, now I am.
But
Okay. Now I see it. But now I'm going to have to move the screen out of the way so that I can see the other stuff. Okay. I need more screens.
Yeah, right.
All right.
we'll start a GoFundMe for that too.
That's the
Okay.
Needs more
last thing
screens,
you
and Steph
need.
needs a house.
What do I need, Nick?
You need to be able to organise the ones you've got.
That's true. That's true.
Where's
All
Nev?
right. Yeah. Nev. We need a Nev over here in the cabin. All right. Let's do it.
You're listening to the Airline Pilot Guy Show.
The view from our side of the cockpit door.
WAPG. It's the Airline Pilot Guy.
Airline Pilot Guy, episode 516.
Yeah, he's up in the sky. It's the Airline Pilot Guy.
Hello, you're listening to the Airline Pilot Guy show, the view from our side of the cockpit door. With your host, Captain Jeff, broadcasting live from Studio 1A at APG headquarters in Lake Burton, Georgia. Today's show is recorded on the 6th of April, 2022.
Yeah, he's up in the sky. It's the Airline Pilot Guy. Put your light and he's flying by. With the Airline Pilot Guy.
In today's episode, another British Airways computer glitch causes delays at Heathrow. A British Airways pilot in jail for lying on his resume. More news, your feedback, and today's plane tale. Don't upset the jet too. So get all settled in. Tray tables and seat backs in the upright and locked positions. Electronic devices powered on. I'm Radio Roger. Flight 516 is ready for pushback.
Thank you, Radio Roger Stern. He's an award-winning TV and radio reporter, currently at the number one all-news station in the nation, 1010 Wins in
New York City!
Welcome to the Airline Pilot Guy Show. It's an aviation podcast covering the latest in aviation news and your great feedback. I'm Captain Jeff, a pilot at a major legacy airline based in Atlanta, GA. And joining us today from our lakeside studio in South, Dr. Skydiver, marathon runner, sprint training junkie, IPA connoisseur, and commercial multi-engine instrument rated backstabbing jumper dumper. It's Dr. Steph.
Hey, Captain Jeff. It is so great to be here with you guys. Really looking forward to the show today. I know we've got a lot of good stuff to talk about.
Very nice. We look forward to it as well. And also joining us from his studio,
in Hartford, Hereford, and Hampshire.
professional photographer, former RAF, RAAF fighter pilot, retired Airbus A330, A340 captain for Virgin Atlantic Airways. It's Captain Nick.
Pull up. Yes, immediately. Lovely to see you again, Jeff, and everybody else. Steph said it. Looking forward to a great show. It's going to be fun tonight.
Excellent. And also joining us from his home studio in the air capital, low and slow pilot, old airplane enthusiast, and engineer in the aerospace and defense industry, it's Nick Camacho Macho Man.
Hey guys, thanks Jeff. Glad to be back with you again.
Yeah, good to have you as well. And last but certainly not least, from her home studio in Toronto, Ontario, Canada, retired financier and aviation enthusiast, spreadsheet master, and our producer, it's Liz Piper.
Hi, everybody. I'm looking forward to a good show, too.
Yeah, well, fingers
I'll
crossed.
try not to be disappointed. Okay.
Yeah, wouldn't be too optimistic out there, if you know what I mean. All right, well, let's talk about some aviation-related news.
Stand by for news.
Oh, all right. Are you saying something to me, Liz? Oh, okay. Thought somebody was. Okay. You want to take this one, Nick? Hello? Oh.
Sorry, someone just muted me.
I didn't.
User error.
No, I was just going to add a bit at the end, that's all.
Oh, okay. All right. I thought maybe you had put this one in there.
No. Well, I might have mentioned it to Liz, but no, it's a very long and drawn-out article, actually.
It is, and it's really not too much to it, except for... Well, anyway. Hey, let's start off with the first item in the news notebook. It is, let's see, from simpleflying.com. Delays at Heathrow as British Airways faces another IT meltdown. The airline has resolved a technical issue that caused delays and flight cancellations today. I don't know what day that was. It must have been yesterday from London Heathrow Airport.
No, I think it was last week. It's about 4 or 5 days ago.
Oh, okay. Well, a while back. I'm assuming things are kind of back to normal again. I don't know.
Well, it was a pretty bad outage, and they had basically an entire day of cancellations, more or less, from Heathrow. So they hardly turned a wheel all day, Jeff. It was a bit of a nightmare for them.
Well, it says here that significant delays and cancellations meant passengers flying into London on British Airways as the airline recovered from technical issues. It says today, but it's a few days back. The technical outage was the having trouble with my words again. The technical outage was the second one for the British flag carrier in less than a month. They saw over 40 flights into London Heathrow canceled as the airline struggled with a temporary technical issue. I'm experiencing a temporary technical issue with my mouth.
Yeah. Do you want to go and put some more batteries in there? I'll certainly take over, Jeff.
Why don't you do that?
Giving you a problem.
Make some sense of this.
Yeah, it's the
Please.
second outage, the carrier in a month. In February, they had a big problem when their IT systems became inaccessible, and they cancelled a whole heap of flights. The airline's website, mobile apps all went down, and so passengers were left with really very few avenues of communication with the airline to try and find out what was going on. And of course, that usually means that the telephone lines, because that's one of the few ways to get hold of anyone, become completely jammed. It's becoming a bit of an issue for BA because last year and a couple of years ago they had similar major outages, and it seems they haven't really grasped the nettle and got their IT problems all resolved. This is sort of carried on. Although this initial issue occurred several days ago, it's carried on because for the past week, BA have been cancelling up to 100 flights a day. And in addition to, it's rumoured to reduce their passenger load on many routes. They have hiked their prices for routes by several times their normal cost. And the newspapers are suggesting that this might be to just relieve pressure on a very unreliable IT system till it's fully up and running again, although more recent reports say that BA are blaming COVID illness amongst their employees for as the reason for cancellations. Not everyone is in agreement with that, so they think there might be pulling a bit of a fast one, using a bit of an excuse. But I think certainly, they
No way. People don't use COVID as an excuse.
Nah, I've never done that.
For things?
Exactly. So no, I think it's just, it highlights that they've got quite a fragile IT system, like a lot of airlines, to be truthful, because they've grown up and their IT system, the basic core of their IT system is often pretty ancient, based on old computers and using very old-fashioned software. And very few airlines have managed to streamline that and get it up and running, partly because of the entire booking system for most airlines is pretty archaic. And, you need to kind of stop flying for a couple of weeks, probably everybody, while you install a new one and then get it all going again. But anyway, that's been BA's woes. I'm sure our friend Nev, who is on PT UK, has been tearing his hair out because you know how he loves his BA flights. He hasn't been able to get in seat 1A
Nev has
very often.
probably never been affected by this because they just look at any flight that Nev is on and they're like, we can't cancel that one. So
no, that's probably true, actually. Yeah, absolutely.
I do like Neil Landwarm in our live audience. He says, you could say they are barely aviating, BA.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, when you're trying to recover from the pandemic and all the losses that the airlines have made, this is really not the time to find out that your Windows, whatever IT system they have, is not working well. And you'd think, because you say a year ago, they were probably hardly flying, if that would be the time to say, all right, we don't really need the online system to be working particularly well now. Let's upgrade it now when nothing's happening. But apparently they are still having problems.
Yeah, as you say, they are not the only airline out there that has experienced IT issues in the last several years. So.
Yeah, it has such a vast impact because airlines now rely on it so much, from passengers with their apps. Yeah, exactly. Passengers booking online, passengers booking through a remote system, and Steph's waving a bit of paper, which I'm sure has something to do with...
I just printed a boarding pass on paper. I can't remember the last time I did this, but yay. So that's pretty low tech.
Paper?
I
Printer?
know.
Yeah, wow.
What?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I know.
Exactly. So if you're going to adopt an entirely paperless system, then you need to make sure it's robust because, when the system goes down, everything grinds to a halt.
Yep. I do remember when I was first hired by Acme back in the late 80s, early 90s, they were starting to introduce a lot of automation via computers, but every base we went to, and we pilots also were trained on how to do calculations, manual calculations for, the weight and balance data and all the other stuff. And all the stations had qualified people that knew how to do it as well. So that if a computer went down, no problem. They knew how to do it. But I guess over the years, they decided that, well, the computer never goes down. So we don't need to train people how to do this.
Yeah, exactly.
Not so much.
I think that's one of the challenges of IT is that, it's hard to justify spending money on it, right? Until it's too late. Like now you can look at it and be like, man, we sure need to spend some money on this to fix this like giant problem we have. But until it's a giant problem, it's hard to go to like a senior level person in a company, right? And say, oh, we could spend X amount of dollars upgrading our IT system, which will, in theory, not really impact us very positively. It'll just continue to allow us to operate status quo. In reality, right, you do gain a little bit of efficiency probably. Or we could go spend that money on buying like some new airplanes and increase our passenger loads or do whatever. And it's always easier to make that justification until you have one of these like Armageddon situations, right?
Right.
Absolutely.
Oh, well, hopefully they'll get that all worked out sometime soon so that we don't have these.
Nev will sort them out. He'll write them a stern letter.
I'm sure they've already contacted Nev because they just realized he'll have the solution.
Absolutely, yes.
All right. Next item, staying over there in the UK. This is from thetimes.co.uk. A British Airways pilot was jailed for lying on his CV to land a job. The fraudster found out after, quote, pressing a button no pilot would press.
Was it the self-destruct button?
I don't know
on the airplane.
What's that? Is that the
think
toilet
the James Bond
flush
car?
button?
Yeah.
Do you hit the eject button in the James Bond car? What do you think it is, Nick?
The toilet flush button, probably.
Oh, okay. What, a pilot would never push that?
Well, no, you never know what's going to happen if you push the wrong button. And you've got to double check. You should have the other pilot in there to make sure that you're, I'm going to press this button. Is this okay? Yep, that's fine. That's the right button.
Well, British Airways said that Craig Buttfoy, who lied about his flying experience on a job application, presented no risk to customers. A pilot lied about his flying experience to get a job at British Airways, but was found out when he pressed a button that no qualified pilot would, a source told The Times. Just a spoiler here. Well, no, I'm not gonna spoil it. Craig Buttfoy, probably mispronouncing that, 49 years old, was jailed.
I don't know. Yeah.
What is it?
No, I have no idea. I was just coming up with alternative pronunciations for you.
Okay. Was jailed this week for lying about his level of flying experience to get a job. He worked for BA City Flyer, a British Airways subsidiary, and Stobart Air, a former Aer Lingus subsidiary, between April 2016 and March 2018, spending about a year at each airline. It is understood that he had previously worked for a company called Hangar 8 Management in the mid-2000s. The company operates the same Embraer 190 jets as BA City Flyer, and it was documents relating to his time there that were doctored to enhance his flying time. He obtained the pilot jobs after entering false details and altered entries in his first logbook, so it appeared that he was more experienced than he was. A Snaresbrook Crown Court in northeast London was told. Buttfoy of Matfield, Kent, was jailed for 12 months after pleading guilty to 4 charges of fraud and 2 breaches of the Air Navigation Order 2016. Sources told The Times that BA City Flyer bosses became concerned about Buttfoy after an incident in Switzerland where he, here we go again, pressed a button on the ground that no qualified pilot would do and launched an investigation. The airline carried out its own internal investigation before referring the case to the Civil Aviation Authority. It was then investigators started to look into it, that it became clear that there was far more to the case and that the CAA needed to take it extremely seriously. Jonathan Spence, a general counsel at the Civil Aviation Authority, said that the CAA's prosecution and the sentence imposed show that offenses of this kind are taken very seriously by the regulator and the courts. Pilot integrity is at the heart of aviation safety, and we will take all steps necessary to maintain that position. Butvoy falsely claimed to have flown 1,610 hours as a captain in a job application submitted to BA City Flyer, which operates out of London City Airport. He was also accused of giving false details on his CV, including that he had held a private pilot's license since 1998 and fabricated documents, including a training course certificate. BA said in a statement, "The safety of our customers and crew is always our priority, and the fully qualified pilot was suspended and an investigation was launched as soon as BA City Flyer became aware of discrepancies in his employment record. At no point was there any risk to customers or colleagues." The airline noted that Butvoy had a full pilot's license. Stobart Air collapsed in June after running into financial trouble in the pandemic. Well, I don't know why they added that. That doesn't really have anything to do with the story. But, okay, so here we go. The entire article is read, and I still don't know what button that it is that he pushed that no pilot would.
No, neither do I.
I have no idea. I pushed a lot of buttons, mostly of my co-hosts.
You're pushing our buttons all the time, Steph. Yeah.
I don't know. What?
Yeah, what is that button? Let me push that and see what happens.
I honestly, legitimately have no idea. I don't know.
What is Neil's comment? Liz is telling me that he's making a good. What are you in for? Murder? Armed robbery? No, pressing a button. That no other pilot would.
No pilot would push that button.
But it was about darn time that a pilot pushed that button.
I mean,
it's the button that says "Do not push." You know?
Yeah, absolutely, that one. Yeah. It's not as if he wasn't qualified on the aircraft. I mean, he'd been flying the damn thing for quite a while.
Well, he presumably went through training and everything as well.
Simulator checks and the like. So how would it suddenly he decide that he was going to press this weird button, which none of us know about? So
it's like, I've never seen this one before. They didn't tell me what this one did. Let's try it out. The reason they didn't tell me is because this is the button no one pushes. And now I've been found out. Right. Actually, that's exactly what it is. It's that secret button to find out if you're not truly an airline pilot.
Yeah, the confess button, according to Sean Taylor.
Yes.
Liz is asking me if there's is there a button like that in the Catholic Church? And no, there's no button that you push to start your confession. No button. Yeah, I don't.
I mean, it obviously is a bit of a worry. The main worry is that during his initial interviews and them accepting him, they didn't do background checks on him. Mm-hmm. So it would be pretty easy to check out his his previous licenses and when he got them, etc. And if you found a discrepancy, then you start digging deeper. But this sadly is not the first time. So you don't often see this actually going to court.
Usually people are just quietly like, you need to go now.
Yeah.
And,
I know a pilot who was quietly asked to resign, and he moved off to another airline for allegedly falsifying his hours. But we're talking now of trying to get his hours up over the hump to qualify for a command course. He had several thousand hours, but he just needed a few hundred more. So apparently he submitted a new logbook that suddenly had bigger numbers than it used to have.
Yeah.
And somebody said, "Oh, that's a bit odd."
It's more about not the fact that you don't have that experience that you claimed. It's the fact that you didn't have the integrity, moral and ethical integrity to, tell the truth or not tell the truth.
Well, that's exactly right. It does reflect. I mean, but sadly, there's a cynical group of pilots out there. There are a few bad apples, and of course they bring the reputation of everyone down. So, it's nice when they do catch them, and perhaps there'll be a few people who are where they ought not to be, who are now a bit more worried about having their secrets revealed.
Yes. Acme makes a very big point of saying that anything that you present to us when you're trying to get hired by us, if at any point in the future, years later, decades later, we find that some of that is not true, that's grounds for dismissal. And and I've heard of cases where pilots were fired after they learned that some of the information that they presented was not correct.
Absolutely. Yep.
It's a question of character. Yeah, you're right, Neil. All right. Let's continue with this one. I like the reporting on this one. It's very sensational. This is from news.com.au. Dozens of Jetstar passengers were involved in a terrifying near miss after a light plane came within meters of the Airbus. I'll tell you what, I bet not a single passenger on that airliner knew that happened.
No idea.
A report from Australia's Transport Safety Bureau has found it was only by chance alone that a Jetstar Airbus A320 and a light plane didn't collide back in November 2020. It was on the morning of November 28, 2020, that the Jetstar plane, an A320 with 170 people on board, was coming into land at Ballina Byron Gateway Airport in northern New South Wales. Is that right, Ballina? Is that the way you pronounce that?
New South Wales, and sounds right, yeah.
Okay. At the same time, the Jetstar A320 was descending a Jabiru, which is now being shown on the screen, a light high-wing general aviation airplane. Very nice airplane, actually. A Jabiru J230D light plane was conducting a private flight from Heckfield, what the heck, in Queensland to Evans Head.
That's because of all the bad landings.
Oh, heck.
Oh, heck. Not another bad landing. In Evans, Queensland to Evans Head in New South Wales. The Australian Transport Safety Bureau, the ATSB, report found that the two planes were dangerously close to colliding, with the gap between them shrinking to as little as 600 feet. The investigation found that the pilot of the Jabiru had no idea the Jetstar flight was so close to him, or that the two aircraft were converging, until he flew just above the Airbus. That's when he found out. Probably some pretty wide eyes when he saw that A320 600 feet below
Jet
him.
looks real big when you're in a little light sport,
Luckily, the Jabiru, the light airplane, was above the A320.
Yes.
Because it could have been a lot worse if he were below them with the wake turbulence and all that. The flight crew of the Jetstar flight was also unaware of the presence of the Jabiru until they were alerted to the impending conflict by the aircraft's TCAS system, or the traffic collision avoidance system. The ATSB also found that the pilot of the Jabiru did not set the aircraft's transponder to broadcast altitude data. And I'm wondering, why wouldn't you do that? That would have been helpful.
They pushed the wrong button.
This is that guy. They didn't say who the pilot was here, but maybe it was that butt boy guy. Put the wrong button.
Just on standby.
The Jetstar flight crew were unable to sight the aircraft until just before the flight paths intersected. And again, the ATSB found it was by chance alone that there was a separation between the two planes, and they didn't crash. They also found that the most recent regulatory review of the airspace surrounding Ballina Byron Gateway Airport and subsequent periodic reviews had not specifically considered the risks associated with aircraft transiting the airspace without taking off or landing at the airport. Let's see. In response to the terrifying near miss, Ballina Airport has since expanded its broadcast area to a radius of 15 nautical miles. An Air Services Australia Surveillance Flight Information Service, an SFIS, also began operating in August of 2021. The SFIS provided traffic information to aircraft operating within the broadcast area on the airport's common traffic advisory frequency Previously, the airspace around Ballina was not controlled or non-controlled, meaning aircraft were required to fly by see and avoid principles, meaning they watch for other traffic and monitor radios to stop collisions. The airspace surrounding Ballina Airport accommodates a complex mix of aircraft types and operations, and there is a number of other non-controlled airports in close proximity, the report said. The ATSB determined that while the available evidence did not support a conclusion that the present system of aircraft self-separation in the Ballina airspace is unsafe, there is the opportunity to potentially further reduce the safety risk. So at least it looks like they implemented a couple of things here to try to keep something like this from occurring in the future.
Oh, they learned from what they needed to do and actually put those changes in place. That's great.
I know. It's kind of unusual. That should be the headline.
I know. That should be the headline.
Yeah.
Safety
Exactly.
improvements made. Yes.
Yeah, that would be very nice. I was
and
going to point out
astonishing.
Astonishing.
Shockingly, they implemented changes to enhance safety.
I was going to point out that TCAS, of course, doesn't function if you don't have, or it doesn't function in its resolution advisory mode unless you have an altitude on the target that you're approaching. So because this guy wasn't transmitting an altitude, it would have alerted the crew, and their TCAS would have shouted traffic at them because of their proximity in a lateral position. In other words, they were going to cross almost directly overhead. But because it didn't have vertical information, it wouldn't have known how to offer instructions for a climb or descend as you would get with a resolution advisory. So it just amplifies the importance of making sure you've got your mode Charlie on if you're bimbling around, because the Jetstar flight might well have got away with this, but I very much doubt the pilots in the Japaroo would have done. And they were the ones not transmitting altitude. So big lesson for them.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
For sure. All right. Excellent. Let's continue with the next item in our news notebook. This is an interesting one. Our sister airline at Atlanta International, Delta, had an incident with two of their flights. Turns out it was an air traffic control error. And I think it might be best for me to share the video, the reconstruction of the flight. And let me do this. I did not set this up beforehand, so they were close for comfort, according to Neil. Very, very clever.
Yeah, I'm starting to cringe a little, Neil.
Okay. Thanks, Liz. Okay. Looking for the video folder. And here we go. Okay. Open. And there we go. This is, you can see ATC. And let's see, this occurred relatively recently on the 30th of March of this year in Atlanta International Airport. A Delta Airlines Boeing 737-900 was performing Flight 684 from New York John F. Kennedy International Airport to Hartsfield-Jackson International Airport, was involved in a loss of separation with Delta Airlines Airbus an A321, registration November 329 Delta November, Flight 504. Both aircraft were performing a go-around procedure due to weather. As it was reported, the ATC error caused that situation. So now, when I first started to read about this, I'm thinking, oh, it must have been like low-vis procedures or something like that. No, the weather in this case were very high winds out of the south, and the runways at Atlanta are east-west runways, so it was a direct crosswind, pretty high winds. And just to kind of set it up a little bit, the preceding aircraft, a 757, had not cleared the runway at the normal point, and for us, it's the second high-speed taxiway when you're landing in that direction. And I would imagine it's probably because of the high winds. They were probably carrying a little extra speed, and they just didn't get the aircraft slow enough to take that second high speed. So they had to pass that and continue down toward the very end of the runway, which is a 90 degree turnoff at that point, or maybe even more than that. And maybe not quite the end of the runway, but it's much further down the runway. And because of that, the spacing on the airplane that was behind them got to the point where, well, basically they were still on the runway and the airplane couldn't land, so they had to execute a go around because of that. So let's go ahead and play this. And now, go. Play. I guess they're still waiting for me to read this. They usually don't give me enough time. Okay, here we go.
Tower Delta 504, Bernie.
Delta 504, Atlanta Tower, wind 170 at 27, gust 35, runway 9 right, clear to land.
Clear to land on right, Delta 504.
That's the Airbus A321.
Code 17, missed the high speed.
That's the 757 on the runway.
Delta 17, node lay down to Kilo, left turn at Kilo, hold short runway 9 left.
Yeah,
Tower Delta 684 is Bernie, 9 right.
Delta 684, Atlanta Tower, wind 170 at 26, gust 35, runway 9 right, clear to land.
Okay,
9
so
right, clear to land, Delta 684.
That's the 737 behind the A321.
Or 33 or less for Delta 684.
Delta 504, go around climbing.
Go around, go around. Delta 504, going around.
Thank you, Delta 504. Thank you, maintain 4,000.
Maintain 4,000, Delta 504.
Okay, just I'm going to pause this for a moment. They stepped on each other. Tower stepped on the 737, transmitting that I believe they were saying something like they had, I guess their maximum crosswind is 33. So he was kind of saying, like, you know, we can't land if it's more than 33 knots on the gust. And Tower at that point was instructing the Airbus A321 to go around because the 757 was still on the runway toward the end.
Delta 1217, hold short runway 9 left Kilo.
Nice radio. Okay, so he's clear.
Turn right turn heading 170.
170, when able, Delta 504, up to 4,000.
Okay, again, that's the Airbus.
Wind 170 at 28, gust 35. Delta 504, when able, turn right heading 240.
All right, heading 240, Delta 504. Wind check for Delta 684.
Wind 170, 27, gust 35.
Delta 684 has to go around.
Delta 684, right to climb, maintain 4,000.
4,000.
Now, I was at Tower. The maximum that you can say is 33.
The magic number is 33.
Yeah, not 35.
33.
33.
That was like
I think
a hint,
I tried,
right? It was
I tried to make that point. Yeah.
I'd say again for Delta 684.
Delta 684, turn right now, right heading 19, correction 170.
All right, right turn 170. We're going to have to go to Augusta for Delta 684.
684, roger, I'll coordinate that.
By the way, this is the second, I think the second go around for that 737 that just said, we got to go to Augusta now because they're running low on fuel.
Roger, right turn 170 and say altitude.
Delta 684 at 4,000.
4,000, right. For what frequency are you supposed to be up?
Delta 684, turn left heading 140.
Are you sure about that?
Delta 684, descend and maintain 3,000.
Down to 3,000, Delta 684.
Delta 684, no delay, down to 6,000, 3,000.
All right, TCAS RA for Delta 684.
Delta 632, inside of Bernie.
Delta 632, Atlanta Tower, wind 1702 seats, continue 9 right.
Continue 9 right, Delta 632.
Tower Delta 504, what frequency are you supposed to be up?
Delta 504, stand by. Trying to coordinate. Delta 504, contact approach 124.6.
124.6, Delta 504. All right, heading and altitude for Delta 684. Our RA is clear now.
All right, Delta 684 is 3,000.
Affirm 3,000. Delta 684 3,000, and we're on a heading of 170.
Delta 684 is still trying to coordinate can't turn you westbound to get the other aircraft turned.
No problem. We're on a 170 heading 3,000 feet, Delta 684.
Which is not westbound.
All right, Delta 684, they're charged at 4,000, maintain 3,000, continue right turn heading 270.
Okay, again, we have to go to Augusta for Delta 684.
Which is not that way.
684 to have your request 124.6, contact approach 124.6.
246, Delta 684.
Okay, that's the end of it. So I think what happened here, these things always seem to occur when you have situations that you weren't really expecting. Like he wasn't expecting that 757 to miss that second high speed.
No.
And that completely threw things off because now the Airbus A321 has to go around and
the 73 didn't get their wind number correct, so they're going around.
Well, that was the Airbus. He was okay.
Oh, yeah. No, I know. The 73.
Yeah, and then the guy behind him, the 737. Yeah, they needed to have that wind below that 33 knot gust, and they didn't have it, and that's why he said we have to go around. And just a reminder, Delta, like many airlines, don't have. I mean, the maximum demonstrated crosswind limitation that when they certify the airplane at Delta Airlines and Acme Airlines and some others, that's actually a limitation for them. And so, whereas a lot of airlines, the max demonstrated crosswind is kind of basically guidance, but not necessarily a limitation. And in this case, it wasn't a good thing because they weren't allowed to legally touch down with the winds gusting to more than 33, I'm guessing, because he didn't use that number at the beginning there. But I think what happened is air traffic control was a little bit flummoxed or distracted or whatever, and forgot that he had already given the instruction for the Airbus to fly. Here's a track that we're looking at here. We'll have it in the show notes as well, of the paths of the various flights. And the green line and three-dimensional track is the Airbus. And so they went out a little bit further, and then they got vectored around, and they're kind of getting vectored to the southwest. And the 737, their track is more toward pretty much the end of the landing runway, and then a due south heading, and the two paths cross each other at a certain point, and that's why they ended up getting the TCAS resolution advisory, and why the air traffic controller told the 737 to descend to 3,000 because the Airbus was level at 4,000. So what did it say as far as the actual separation?
It was, I've got
600
it here.
feet.
No, 200 feet, I think. And
200
feet vertical
feet.
and less than 0.8 nautical miles.
So less than a mile horizontal and 200 feet vertical. That's pretty close, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's uncomfortable. Hence an RA. So you don't
Right.
get resolution advisory unless there is a real risk of a collision.
Yep. And the ceiling that day was not a low ceiling. I mean, I think they were around 17,000. They were in the teens, the ceiling. So it was, and the visibility was 10 miles, which when it reports 10 statute miles, it's at least 10. So with that kind of wind, I would imagine that the visibility was pretty good. Now, it would be easy for me to say, well, why weren't you looking outside, and why didn't you see this, or why didn't, in your mind, kind of keep track of the fact that airplane ahead of you just went around. And so we have to be thinking about that when we're doing our go-around procedure. But, there was a lot of
Well, there's a lot going on, so you just went around. You're trying to figure out one aircraft is trying to figure out which frequency they're supposed to be on because they haven't been assigned that. The other one's trying to figure out how to go to Augusta. The other one's, they're trying to reprogram things and
right. I'm afraid that there was probably a lot of head down stuff going on in
both airplanes,
probably both airplanes, but. Liz says it's kind of a busy airport, right? Yeah, it's very busy. It's like the world's
and
busiest.
of course the controller is pretty busy too, because when aircraft go around, he's got a lot of information got to pass to the next controller who's going to pick these aircraft up unexpectedly. So he's doing a lot of internal coordination.
It doesn't stop the continual flow of inbound aircraft on the approach
Nope.
either. They still keep coming and checking
going.
in. Bernie,
Yeah.
not Bernie.
Yeah, now
I
approach
actually
control
thought
has to. I'm sorry. And now approach control has to worry about this constant flow of traffic coming into that runway. Now they have to figure out how are we going to fit these two in, or one. The other one finally said, "I'm giving up. We're going to go to Augusta, get some more fuel, and then try it again later, and hopefully get an air traffic controller that will give us the right numbers." But go ahead, Nick.
Now, I was just going to comment, share on more recently on what Peter just said. I think the crew that asked the controller about one of the headings, they did that because they wanted to divert and they were going to be turned onto the opposite direction to where they actually wanted to go. So that was the query. It wasn't a query, you're going to turn us into a heading that'll collide. They'd actually gone past the collision at that point.
Well, the heading they were given was to get them away from the collision along with the descent.
Yeah.
But it was away from where they thought they were supposed to go. So,
yeah. The Airbus crew took a long time to initiate their turn onto the new heading during their go-round. Now, I understand why. They were probably busy flying the go-around, and we know a go-around, particularly one that was unexpected, they were probably sitting there on finals going, this is going to be fine, and then all of a sudden, damn, that aircraft's not going to clear, and unexpectedly they're into a go-around. Then you don't fly actual go-arounds that often, so when you do one for real, it's it comes as a bit of a surprise. So perhaps it took them longer than they would have hoped to get onto that heading. The 737 crew, they were right on the ball. They got the aircraft in the go-around, and then they whipped it round on a sixpence. And that, rather than carrying straight ahead and following the track of the Airbus and ending up in trail on him, he cut the corner. Now, that didn't mean he purposely cut the corner. That meant he obeyed the air traffic controller's instructions, but much more promptly than the Airbus crew.
Right. So, that 737 had just previously gone around, and so this was their second try, and they were already thinking about the alternate, and they were already
they were already thinking go around. They weren't thinking
they were ready
land.
for it.
They were all practiced.
They initiated their go arounds at very different
slick
points.
here.
The A321 was much closer to the to touchdown at that point. So they initiated their go around much later, so it took them a minute to actually get into that turn, and they actually even said on the. If you listen to it, they said when able.
When able, yeah. That was like, what? What do you mean when able?
Because they weren't ready. They weren't ready to turn.
I know. But that was like the air traffic controller was expecting them to do that right away, and they didn't.
They were like, no, when able, we'll turn.
And you could tell that they were pretty rattled, just the way they were making their radio communication. You could tell that they weren't expecting to have to do this. And as Nick says, when you're flying like a low visibility approach, and you're already kind of half expecting that you're not going to break out. You're already going through your mind all the different things you're going to do when you get the airplane to go into a missed approach. When you're probably clear, clear in a million, high winds, yes, but clear in a million, you're just not expecting that you're going to have to go around out of that. And then all of a sudden, whoa, yep, go around. Go around. Yeah.
Yes, I wonder how many times that captain did a little mini go-around brief just in case. The wind's a bit strong today. Just in case we go around, let's just run through what we're going to do. Which
that's
a good
idea to do.
Great idea.
But I bet they didn't.
Yeah, that's right. I don't know for sure, but yeah, I agree with you, Jeff.
Yeah.
So the controller was pushed. He was all of a sudden coordinating 2 go-rounds which he wasn't expecting, and certainly the pilots were reacting in a different way. But ultimately, you've got to say the controller should have been watching what the first aircraft did and giving an instruction to the second aircraft that would have deconflicted them straight away. So go around straight ahead until he had a moment, and then he could have turned him at the same point that the Airbus turned.
Right.
But it's easy for us to criticize here, isn't it? We're not sitting there in the hot seat.
Exactly. It's it's a lot more comfortable looking at it from this vantage point.
Oh yeah, we're experts.
Yeah. With a beer in hand, right, Liz?
Yeah. Oh, that's a good idea. Thank you for that.
Yeah. All right. Let's continue with this next item from airlive.net. And just a quick update on the China Eastern Boeing 737 crash. The cockpit voice recorder has been transferred to an NTSB facility in Washington. And let's see, they will attempt to glean crucial details about the run-up to the tragedy. An NTSB crash investigation team also left Friday, headed for China, to assist in the investigation. Investigators will limit interactions with those outside of investigation, similar to safety protocols at Beijing Olympics, which will allow them to begin work immediately without a quarantine, the agency said. Okay. Not sure exactly what that means, but...
well, they do have very strict quarantine rules in China. Their main method of keeping the pandemic under control has been just to shut everything down whenever there's a hint of an infection. So they're obviously easing some of those regulations to get the guys straight onto site so they can start working.
Excellent. Oh, wait. Liz is telling me that Miami Rick is in the chat room. Jet noise.
Ah, excellent.
I didn't know that was him either, Liz. Jet noise equal Miami Rick, by the way. Okay, he is...
hi, Rick.
Why aren't you here, Rick? By the way, he just celebrated a birthday
there's
a couple days ago.
There's a big 777 crashing coming up, and we need you.
We need you.
We need you, Rick. Come on. Yeah. So what is he doing? He's going to Houston Intercontinental?
IAH.
Okay. Well, have a good flight, Rick.
Yep.
Yeah, we do miss you.
See you the next time, I suppose.
Yeah, don't worry. I'll sort out the 777 problem. I know all about it. Yeah.
He's just going to start talking about Airbuses, so you're going to have to help us out and straighten things back out next time around.
Absolutely.
By the way, Rick, did you see your competition in the extreme ironing?
Oh, yeah. If you haven't seen that, then...
Yeah,
there are some more events coming, I gather.
Are there?
Yes.
Oh, wow. I can't wait. All right. Oh, and that chair that's behind you in the garden, Liz is thinking.
Garden ironing.
No, that's extreme, nearly extreme.
That's not that extreme. No. Yeah. All right. Okay, so our last item in the news, Emirates' latest April Fool's joke could actually be a really great idea.
Really?
Actually, I do like this idea.
Okay.
I'm all for it.
Well, let's hear about what it is then. Be careful what you believe today because, of course, it's April Fool's Day. Of course, this was on the 1st of April. We were recording the show on the 6th. And more otherwise serious airlines are getting into the spirit of hijinks. The Dubai-based Emirates has vowed with its April Fool's activities in recent years from flying... The Dubai-based Emirates has wowed with its April Fool's activities in recent years, from flying taxis to Airbus A380s kitted out with full-sized swimming pools. What makes a good April Fool's joke is when you might actually believe it's a reality. After all, flying taxis have been talked about for years, while Emirates put a bar and shower on its A380s, so why not a swimming pool? Weight, probably. Sloshing.
A lot of water.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Difficult to contain.
Yeah. Its latest April Fool joke is also based on an idea that could, at a real stretch, actually become a reality. In this case, Emirates is planning on going head-to-head with delivery service Uber Eats with its own similarly branded Emirates. There's one big difference between Uber Eats and Emirates, though. Whereas Uber delivers locally sourced takeout food, Emirates promises to deliver international cuisine direct from its home country. Actually, that does sound like a pretty good idea.
It sounds like a great idea. I'm all for it.
Other airlines with their... Yeah, me too. Other airlines with their own April Fool's jokes include Finnair, which claims Santa Claus will soon be starting work as an airline pilot. Well, I know that's not true because I think he's probably too old. He's beyond the mandatory retirement.
Probably is true because what's he doing the other 364 days of the year?
Exactly. According to the Helsinki-based airline, becoming a pilot has been a secret ambition of Santa for years. Well, he is a pilot, right? He's driving that sleigh.
Yeah, he just needs a type rating.
Yeah. And an 8-engine sleigh. Thank you, Liz. Finnair has been the official airline of Santa Claus since 1983. The crisis in Ukraine, however, has seen many companies take a break from sharing their own April Fool's jokes this year. The comic relief from the likes of Emirates and Finnair, though, is very much appreciated. All right. That was fun. And that clip source was from Paddle Your Own Canoe. Liz's favorite.
They're on every week.
Yep. Well, I like it too, Liz. Nice. Okay. That brings us... You going to order some Emirates? What are you going to get? Something from some Indian cuisine or something like that? Mm-hmm. Falafels? Rick says Santa is ALPA, Airline Pilots Association. He'll be...
Aight.
A lot. Aight. He'll be a aight. He'll be a aight. All right. Or aight. Let's move over now to the Getting to Know Us segment of the show. Getting to know you. Getting to know all about you. Getting to like us. Or me. Hoping that you like me too. Do you like me? I hope so.
Are you asking me or Nick?
Whoever will answer.
Yes, of course.
Oh yeah, thank you, Liz. I need to put that little sound clip. We love you, Captain Jeff. Anyway, so let's start with it. How are we doing with the time, Steph? You want to go ahead and do your getting to know us?
I'm good for now. Yeah, we're doing good. So
yeah.
Yeah, getting to know me. What am I doing? So this past weekend, we did some flying. I was trying to remember. It's been crazy at work still. It's just been very, very, very busy working. So makes all the days kind of blur together. Each day kind of feels like the next. I'm sure other people can relate to that a little bit. But it's a good thing, staying busy. Lots and lots of patients to see at my day job. But yeah, last weekend got to do some flying, got to do some jumping as well. So I think I did 3 jumps each day and, flew a handful of skydiving loads. Probably, I think I did 10 on Saturday and 7 on Sunday or something along those lines. Kind of split it with the other pilot who was there. One of our aircraft was being used for a demonstration jump at a local Air Force base for their air show. So it had to leave for part of the day. So they needed 2 of us there this weekend to coordinate that with a different aircraft. So yeah, nice weather this weekend for a change. It was not terribly windy. It's a little breezy, but nothing crazy like it's been the past month or so. Just seems like every weekend, you're listening to that. We've had very similar weather to Atlanta. We were listening to the winds in that recent news article, but that's what it's been. It's been gusty winds out of the south or out of the southwest for weeks and weeks and weeks on end. So nice that settled down, and it's definitely warmer weather now. It's like 80 degrees outside right now, but I think we'll have some storms later on. And I'm heading to, I got a couple days off coming up. My neighbors are getting married on the beach in Mexico, so I am heading there tomorrow to celebrate with them. So
that sounds nice.
Yeah.
I was thinking that you were doing that already this week, but I guess I was 1 week ahead.
Oh yeah, no, that was not. This is coming up, leaving tomorrow. So.
Oh, okay. Well, that sounds exciting. Are they actually getting married during the skydive?
No.
No. Okay.
Are you bridesmaiding? Steph?
No, fortunately, this is very, very simple. Just close family and
very
some friends.
Very simple skydiving wedding.
No, the wedding itself is simple, right? I actually have no idea how many. I assume they might have some bridesmaids and groomsmen and that good stuff, but I actually don't know. I have no idea. But
well, not sure what Miami Rick means.
I know what he means. It's fine.
Okay.
It's a reference to my job.
Oh, with the large. Oh, okay. Got him. Gotcha.
Yeah, nice one.
Yeah. So I think that's about it. Hopefully I'll have some good updates from vacation when I get back next week. Hopefully it'll work out to be on the show next week because I basically come back from this. I work for like 2 days and then I head up to Boston for the marathon the following weekend. So.
Oh wow!
Another marathon.
That comes round quick, doesn't it?
Doesn't it? Well, last year they pushed it to October, so it's normally the third Monday of April, which is Patriots Day holiday up in Massachusetts. So.
This must almost be the anniversary of the volcano in Iceland then. Because when you remember the one that shut the airspace over Europe and the Atlantic? Well, I was stuck in Boston. And that happened. And while I was stuck in Boston, when everything was grounded, they had the Boston Marathon.
So, yeah, it surely was then. Because every year for the past 125 years, except for last year, it's happened on the third Monday in April.
Wow.
So
good effort.
Not sure which one of your doggies was having the intestinal issues.
It's been both of them. I'm not sure.
Both of them?
Oh no, really?
Well, yeah, they've taken turns apparently. So maybe it was something viral.
Are they doing better?
Sure. It seemed to be today.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay.
I did not come home to more surprises, which is good.
Have you ordered the new carpet?
That needs to. Well, I just remember I'm getting a new house. So.
Gonna push the house down.
I mean, why get new carpet when I'm just gonna start over entirely? So.
Yeah, we'll just set light to this one and start again.
Yeah. Exactly.
Well, David Lieb in our audience lives in Framingham. He said he's going to be watching the marathon around mile 6.
Cool. I don't know. Look for me. Maybe I'll post a picture in the morning of my Twitter, my race kit. So.
You'll be the one.
Tell me what side of the road you're going to be on. Yell my name. I'm in wave 3, so kind of a later start.
When's the marathon again?
Monday, April 18th.
Okay, so I'll see David before then. He's going to be in White Plains, and we're planning on next week, and we're planning on having a meetup there. Mm-hmm. So I'll ask him what side of the road.
Well, while you're having the meetup, just coordinate with me, and we'll.
Okay.
I'll be on the lookout for you, Dave. That'd be cool.
Excellent.
Thanks.
All right. Well, I can't wait to hear about this Mexican adventure.
Oh, it's going to be fun times. Everyone else that I'm rooming with went down today, so I've been getting group messages all day about their flight adventures.
Whereabouts in Mexico? Acapulco or something?
Puerto Escondido.
Puerto Escondido. Where is that?
It's on the southern Pacific coast, like south of Acapulco.
Okay. Nice.
Yep.
All right. So, Nick.
Yes,
how have you been, sir?
I've been nursey. I've been nursey to Mrs. Anderson, who is getting over her knee operation and doing reasonably well. So, she's getting around a bit now, which is great. And she takes a little stroll up and down the street to get this leg working. But there's still lots of things she can't do, so I'm on call 24/7, and of course doing a lot of dog walking, which is we normally share. So it takes me a while to get up and organise myself, and that's taken some time. And I think because I've been doing a lot of humping and dumping, and my back's playing up, she felt a bit sorry for me. So,
you've been doing a lot of what? I'm sorry.
I've been doing a lot of work, humping and dumping.
Well,
that's
Steph's dogs have been doing the dumping. Not sure about the humping, but
yeah, okay. She said, I said, right, I've got to go down to the furniture place we like and pick up those two big cushions that we had restuffed. So we've had stuffing, humping, and dumping.
Oh boy,
we're getting
like
towards
an
the show
X-rated
title. Getting towards the show title now.
We are.
And she said, while you're down there, have a look at the stressless chairs because I think you need one in your studio. So you can kick back and ease your back in a decent chair. And I thought, oh, that's nice. So stressless chairs for you lovely Americans, they're a Norwegian company. They're started off about 600 kilometers north of Oslo, and they make very fine quality chairs for people who like to sit back. Anyway, I found one that
people
suited.
like to sit.
There you go. I found one that suited and ordered it. There is a 4-month lead time for delivery, so I'm not going to see it for a while. So it turns out it might be more of an anniversary present than anything else. Anyway, I thought I would show you a picture from their app. They have the most amazing app. I mean, I don't know. There's probably lots of companies do this nowadays. But you pick your chair, and that's the one I've ordered. And you get your phone and you decide where you want to put it, and you tap the screen, and then you step back and use the camera, and there, exactly where you stuck the chair, your chair has magically appeared, and you can see what it looks like in your house, or in my case, in the garden.
That's how it ended up in the garden.
That's a perfect place for it.
So I thought for my background today, I'd use one of those images. Anyway,
That's
that was
funny.
bit of a joke. Yeah, exactly right. So it's not really going to be in the garden, and because it's not really there. It's a completely imaginary chair at the moment. But there you go.
Mm-hmm. It's a very nice imaginary chair.
It will be. I'm sure. I sat in the one in the showroom, and it heats your back and gives you a lovely massage, as well as doing all the reclining stuff, and also it's nice and compact. So. It doesn't take up a lot of room in your house. So unlike these massive, great big things you see in the malls sometimes, and some people can afford to have in their houses, which take up half a room.
I don't know anyone who would have one of those in their house. never seen that before in anyone's house.
I don't believe
remember
you,
sitting
Steph.
in Dana's. It was fantastic.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing.
Yeah. I mean, it had massaged your legs and your thighs, your upper and lower legs and your arms, and it did absolutely every bit of your body. Just
it's
about.
like I don't want to leave. I'm going to stay here for the rest of my life.
Exactly right. But it was a bit of a monster. I mean, it had a room all to itself.
Yes.
So anyway, this is
That's
a bit
funny.
more me, this one. So,
Well, I can't wait to hear when you get it. So when are you going to get it? Next
4
year?
months. Yeah, just about next year. Yeah, absolutely. That's been about it. Other than Canon have released a new firmware update for the latest camera, which has improved it markedly. I love it when companies do that. When they go, we didn't get this quite right, so we're going to tweak the software, and it really has helped because there were certain aspects of it that I wasn't too impressed with, and I was out playing with it in the garden this afternoon in very poor light conditions, and the eye tracking is now becoming very, very accurate. So very pleased with that. Other than that, nothing much going on, and I've got to start on another plane tale. I think I've got. I have to delve into my logbook next week.
Well, I need to
another
actually
logbook,
finish
plain tale.
editing the last show. Public.
Yeah. For you, it's like a conveyor belt, isn't it? It never stops.
Yeah, it never stops. Anyway, well, it looks like Nick Camacho Man is back with us.
Yeah, it was quick.
He had to leave for like real world stuff. work stuff.
Work.
So, Nick, tell us about what you have been up to since I was last there last week.
Yeah. I guess
starting off with like right after the show last week, we went out to dinner.
We went out to dinner. We went to there's a little not a cafe, like a bar and grill on my airport.
A very nice one, by the way. I've never seen as nice a restaurant bar. It was like a big sports bar, but very, very nice one at an airport like that, especially a smaller airport. That was very impressive. Really good food too.
It's a nice place. We had, I think, 3 Blackhawks were there. There's a Army base about 120 nautical miles north of us, I imagine, and Fort Riley. And so we are pretty consistently getting currency flights and training flights. Those guys coming down, I assume we're at some sort of distance where it makes sense for them to fly down here for, I guess, a training mission or something, but we're regularly getting those guys into our little airport. So we had 3 Blackhawks, and then while we were eating there, a Chinook also landed.
I think it's the actual cafe, the bar and grill.
Yeah, right. That's
why they come down.
that's a one nice advantage is you could go put your wheels on the ground and then take off and go home at a dusty old deserted airport, or you can go have dinner and kind of have a nice little experience there. So that was good. We had dinner, got up the next morning. Jeff tested out his Starlink. I got to see the Starlink in action on my driveway. That was pretty cool.
How close was I with the artwork? Did it look like that, Nick? Not quite. Okay, well, there you go.
Yeah, like that. Close, but not poking up so high, and not round. It's
and he doesn't have to move
actually.
it. It's motorized, so it moves itself.
Oh, right. Okay. Does it have a spoon in the middle to go with the dish?
It does have I don't remember if we talked about it last time, but it does have a cat feature on the app.
It does.
And
cat feature.
Yeah, this winter there was a picture going around. I don't know if it was real or staged or just fake Photoshop, but there's a picture going around of someone who had mounted this thing on their roof, right? And there were 5 cats all laying on it, kind of wedged up against each other, with like 6 inches of snow on the roof, because this dish thing has a integrated heater to melt the snow.
Ah, very clever.
And so when Jeff fired it up, I don't remember, Jeff, is it something you click or does it just pop up and say, getting ready to clear the cats?
So when I go to the app, and that's how you control this thing. And when you in the settings, and they have a stow button or whatever you want to call it, stowing will tilt your Starlink for storage or shipping. This will interrupt your service until you stow it. And in this case, it just says stow, but I guess because I had it on automatic mode and it sensed because of the temperature or something. I guess it somehow knew that it had snowed recently in Wichita. I don't know. It said snow and what did it say? Remove cats?
Yeah, something about cat removal or
cat removal, stowing and cat removal or something like that.
Cat removal? What does that have to do with
love
snow?
it.
Well, because the dish, you just missed it, Steph.
I'm sorry. I should not talk about things which I've not been paying attention to.
It's a heated dish, so that when you mount it outside,
it keeps your food warm.
Oh,
the snow melts off of it. But
so the
it
cats
turns out
find
that
it a nice place
this
to.
is definitely a cat magnet.
Yeah.
They like.
I mean,
lying
my
down
dogs
on
would
it.
do the same thing. I have this, and Liz knows we got this little heated mat for them in the. Oh yeah, they're so spoiled.
Yeah, but that was the first time that, of course, I haven't had a lot of experience with it, but that was the first time that I saw that little comment about the cats. But it worked. We got service from.
Well, if only
Nick's
I'd
place.
known, I'd have stuck a couple of cats in the artwork.
Yeah, well, we didn't let you know in time.
Actually, as a matter of fact, I think you might have been done. That artwork had a real quick turnaround.
Mm-hmm.
So you may have been
I try and do it the next day. So
So then last weekend I got to pull the Luscombe out and fly the Luscombe around a little bit. was relatively calm for, Jeff mentioned it was a little breezy last week. Generally in Kansas in the springtime,
yes, a little bit.
It's not uncommon to have high wind days. And as a matter of fact, today and tomorrow we're under a
like a fire
advisory because they're saying winds
times.
are gusting to 50. And so I just got my phone out, and right now the airport's reporting 25 gusting to 32. So that's sporty in a little airplane, but not anything significant. So got to go up and fly on Saturday. I was hoping for a really nice glass smooth day because it was maybe 3 to 5 knots of wind, but man, it was bumpy.
Someone put the speed bumps out for you.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And then because it was so calm and because it had been so windy, everyone was burning their fields.
Yeah.
And so there was just this layer of hazy, smoky badness at about 3,000 feet. But other than that, it was good. Brought the airplane back in one piece, which is always a goal, and had some, and then spent some time with my in-laws who are big University of Kansas fans. And as some of you may know, the University of Kansas just won the national championship in basketball this weekend. So that was
just my required
part of my family.
sigh because my significant other is a huge Tar Heels fan. So if I didn't do that, I would have been, if he ever happened to see this, I would have been, we would not be speaking for a while if I didn't.
Well, it was an especially emotional showdown for the championship because the Kansas basketball fans are super passionate and they are a very top tier program. They're for sure a top 5 program in the nation. And I would say like maybe Kentucky and North Carolina are the only 2 programs that are better than them. And so, of course, they had a coach from North Carolina for a long time, and North Carolina poached him away about 2 decades ago. So there's still a little bit of resentment or
a little bit of a grudge
charge there.
Yeah.
But yep. So that's what I've been up to the last week or so.
Well, after we had our wonderful meal at the what's the place called again?
It's called Stearman Field Bar and Grill.
Stearman
So my
Field
airport
Bar and Grill.
Yeah, my airport is Stearman Field, which I guess we talked about driving out there. So the Stearman Aircraft Company is was based in Wichita back in its heyday, the 30s and 40s, and actually one of the original hangars is still around. It's on the the Air Force Base here in town. So I guess the history behind our field was it was a real small GA airport, and a handful of guys, 3 guys got together and bought it about 15 or 20 years ago. And they had a Stearman and then together, and then they all bought their own Stearmans. And so then they reached out to the Stearman family and asked for permission to use his name on our field. And so the airport was changed from Benton Air Park to Lloyd Stearman Field. So my airport's name is Stearman Field, and the restaurant is Stearman Bar and Grill.
Yeah, and so after we had that wonderful meal, we went to Nick's hangar, and I got to see in person the newly refurbished Debonair and the Luscombe.
Yep.
And it was really cool. Very nice. All right. Anything else, Nick?
I think that's about it on my end.
All right. So after that, the next day, checked out the Starlink dish and everything worked okay. No cats were injured in the process, and loaded up the car and moved to Beverly. No, headed back home to the cabin and made it basically backtracked the same route that I took out there through Poplar Bluff, Missouri, where I stopped for the night after about 9 hours of driving. And then the next day finished up the trip from there through Tennessee and mostly Tennessee from there, and then North Georgia. Yeah. What's that, Liz? Did I? Oh, that's right. Yeah, the route took me a little bit further to the north. That's right. Earlier, when I went out, I went through Dyersburg and crossed the Mississippi River there. And on the way back, I did the routing that Google Maps preferred, I guess, near Paducah, on the top end of the the land between the lakes, the Tennessee and Cumberland rivers, etc. Very beautiful area of western Kentucky. Anywho, then got back to the cabin on Saturday night. Of course, we recorded the show on Thursday, I believe, so I got zero work editing because it was kind of difficult to edit the show while driving. So, and then, of course...
excuses.
I know. Then Sunday was mostly spent editing, and then I left on a trip on Monday morning. And so again, a lot of flying. That Monday we had 3 legs, and it was a lot of flying, and not a lot of chance to do any editing. More excuses. Anyway, it'll be published eventually. But I did release the video for public viewing. Pretty soon after we did the show. I'll try to do that in the future. So if you're looking for the audio only podcast and it's not there when you expect it to be, then head over to our website or go to our YouTube channel, Airline Pilot Guy, and then you can watch the show, the raw show, and not the edited, and get your fix. When I was in Madison a couple of weeks ago, I showed up in the morning. It actually recorded the show that week in Madison, Wisconsin. And in the morning, very early, sign in or meet up, or what do we call it? I don't know. Pickup time or whatever. Report time, sure. A young lady who is a flight attendant for Acme. And I've met her before. In fact, it was many years ago. I remember we were in Atlanta, and she was getting off the airplane, and she yelled out something like she loves, listening to the show, and people were looking at me like, what is she talking about? And her name is Nanette, and she was there. Unfortunately, she flew with a different crew back to Atlanta. We ended up going to Minneapolis, I think, that day. And she handed me this. And it was an envelope, and on it says the Coffee Fund, and on the back is a really cute little 3-dimensional button thing. I don't know what you call it. It's almost like a it's like a sticker, but it's a 3-dimensional thing. Very cool. 3-dimensional sticker. Yeah, and so she handed that to me, and I said, "Oh, Nanette, you don't have to do that." And she said, "No, I want to contribute to the coffee fund." So, look, real money. She gave the coffee fund.
Nanette.
So, yes,
Where's
Nanette,
mine?
thank you so much.
Better
Anyway.
than that fake Bitcoin stuff. I mean, if you want to send that to us too, that's cool.
you want Steph wants Bitcoin,
Yeah.
Nanette.
Yes, a couple
I'm
of
trying
Bitcoin.
to build a
that'd be
house
nice.
here, Jeff. Trying to build a new house.
Anyway, she's so sweet. Yeah, I love her name. I love that old-fashioned name that she has. And she's a big fan of our show and a big fan of the crew. And I'm wondering, did she ask me? I think she asked me to ask one of you something. I've forgotten what it was now. Nanette, send me, call me or send some feedback and let me know exactly what the question was that I've now forgotten. That was a couple of weeks ago. I'm lucky if I remember what happened yesterday.
Do you think she's just been carrying that envelope around?
Yeah, I was going to ask you how she
again.
I don't
suddenly
think so.
found an envelope.
Well,
stuck
she's
$20
as I
in.
said, she's a big fan of the show, and I think she may have
that's
actually
brilliant.
she may have actually been listening to us recording it when we were there in Madison.
Oh,
So
super.
that might, and then she went, "Oh, he's here." I wish she had knocked on the door and said, "Hey," and she could have joined me as my co-host in Madison. But anywho, thank you, Nanette. Appreciate that. You're a doll. Let's see. And then this last trip, I was with Brent Heron, and our thing is barbecue and stuff. And we had planned to go and find some barbecue in Springfield, Missouri. And by the way, Springfield, Missouri is the home of Bass Pro Shops. And so we were kind of scouting out some of the options for barbecue, except though we kind of got left at the airport. We got in and went out to we called the hotel, and they said, "This is where you go to, meet the van. He should be there in about 5 minutes." Went outside, waited 5 minutes, waited 10 minutes, waited 15 minutes, You get the picture. I called him back. I said, is the van driver like still on his way? And she goes, no, I think he's on his way back to the hotel. Yeah, well, we're still at the airport. So basically, he left without the pilots. Had some passengers that he was taking to the hotel. And he came back, and he kind of felt bad for kind of not waiting for us to come out. And so when we got to the hotel, he said, can I buy you guys dinner? And I'm thinking, you? Like personally? And he goes, no, the hotel. I went, oh, okay, sure. So our plans for, that's actually, oh, you know what? That is something that I'm not ready for that yet, Liz. Well, I heard you asking it, but I didn't answer because I didn't want to stop. Anyway, so we ended up getting a voucher for, I guess, in the lobby of the hotel was a Houlihan's, which is not a barbecue place, but we got a $15 each voucher toward our dinner. So that was kind of took the sting off the fact that we got left at the airport.
I used to go to Houlihan's. There was one on the coast near New York. I'm trying to think.
Or that Hooligans?
Yeah, we used to call it Hooligans. Yeah, so the whole crew did. Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, so we didn't get our barbecue fix in Springfield, Missouri, but we did get free money toward our meal. So we're pilots. We'll take advantage of free money. And the next day, we ended up in Lexington just before noon and coordinated with Greg Peterson, our big-ass fan in Lexington, Kentucky. And he picked us up around a little after 5 and took us to a place called Red State Barbecue. And it is really good. So that's a picture of us there at Red State Barbecue in Lexington, Kentucky. And of course,
barbecue horses, or is that just a coincidence?
I don't know. I didn't see that on the menu, but maybe it's possible. What I had did not taste like barbecue horse.
Would you know though? Do you know what horse?
I'm not sure, horse? Steph. That's a good point.
Well,
Kentucky
raise your
known
hand
for
if
its
you've
horses.
had horse. Anyway,
have you?
Yes.
How does it taste? I would imagine it doesn't taste like brisket or pulled pork.
It
It
probably
tastes
could make it
like
taste
big
like that.
ass, doesn't it?
I'm not going to talk about tasting that. Anyway, so it was great. We had a great dinner there. I had the double smoked brisket and pulled pork, and it was really, really good. And now Brent he always gets pulled pork and barbecue beans and potato salad, and he actually got the brisket, the sliced brisket instead. So a little bit different. I thought, are you really Brent? I don't think so. Anyway, so we had a great time. Thank you, Greg, for picking us up. And Brent, guess what he got? He got one of these things. Fanny.
I would have been so disappointed if he hadn't.
Yes.
Where is my fanny? I don't.
So, look at that. Nick's is right at hand. Now, Nick
Mine isn't bright yellow like yours. Have you got mine's more khaki.
Mine's the same color as Nick's, but I'm not certain where.
Have they changed the color?
This must be the new batch because this is one of the ones that he brought to the 500th episode when he
What color did Nick say?
Khaki.
Car key. Is that what you used to start your car?
Yeah, that's what I used to start the car.
Oh, you Americans, you're so funny.
I'm not sure.
I've never heard that color before. Do you mean like khaki?
Khaki?
Wait, you can call it
is that
khaki.
what you're saying?
He said
Is there
khaki.
an R in khaki?
Khaki.
No, there's no R in that word. It's khaki.
Look, if we started obeying
Like
that rule,
kakalaki.
I'd have to stop you saying 50% of your words.
Let's don't start.
Treacherous George Washington.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There you go.
So yeah, I was saying to someone that you always say that we sound like pirates when you try to imitate the American accent, that we emphasize our R's, and I said, yeah, but you guys, like you don't
put R's
pronounce
in
the
places where
R
they
at
don't
all, and then you put them where they don't belong. Like in Washington or Warsher.
Look, just listen to us and do the same, and we'll all be happy.
Okay.
See, the people in Boston do that too, and we make fun of them as well, so it's okay.
Oh, there you go. I don't blame you.
Anyway, last night got back to the room and I was doing more editing, and Brent calls me up and he goes, "Hey, our flight tomorrow morning has been canceled." I went, "Oh, okay, that's weird." And he said, "Yeah, the flight coming in tonight it has been canceled because of some damage incurred related to the weather system that went through yesterday. So we're not sure exactly what that means. But what it meant to us was that we didn't have to get up at 3:30 in the morning for a 4:45 or whatever pickup time. And they had it set to Deadhead home today on a later flight that was scheduled to leave at 8:34 in the morning. So that worked out well. And then the Greenville-Spartanburg turn that we were supposed to do at the end of it was canceled as well because we weren't going to make it back into Atlanta in time to do that. So win-win on that one. Sometimes reroutes work out for you. And then just before we move on, like to mention that next week, flying with Brent again, and it's another 3-day trip on Tuesday, day 2 of next week's trip. We're going to be laying over in White Plains, New York, Westchester. Is it Westchester County? Is that what they call that? Okay. And so David Lieb, who was in the chat room, maybe he still is, said he contacted me and said, "I see you're going to be in White Plains." And I said, yes, and he's there for work. And of course, we know someone near and dear to the APG, which is who does our intros every week, Radio Roger. He lives in White Plains in New York City area. And also a couple of others had contacted me regarding a possible meetup in White Plains. So we are definitely doing a meetup in White Plains next Tuesday. So if you're in the area, look for, I don't know how we're going to disseminate details, but we're going to meet up somewhere. Oh, Acme Giant is based out of there. Really? I didn't know that.
I had forgotten that.
Wait a minute. That can't be right. Is it really? Is it based out of
corporate headquarters?
Oh,
perhaps.
Okay. I didn't see any big
the home office.
I see a bunch of business jets in that at that airport, like
HPN.
Billions of dollars worth of business jets. Yeah. Anyway, so we are planning. I think I was looking up some places to go, and I'm thinking that one of these places looks like it might fit the bill, and it's called Ron Black's Beer Hall. Looks like they have food and beer, and it's close to the hotel. So, yeah.
3 of the essentials.
Yeah, exactly. So until we change it to something else, we're planning on going over to Ron Black's. If you think you might be going to the meetup, send me or send an email to meetup. I think it's meetup at airlinepilotguy.com, and then we'll be able to contact everybody that potentially might be doing the meetup with us, and we'll tell you for sure exactly where we're going to be and what time. So,
good job.
Just wanted to mention that. Donna Rose and a friend of hers is going to be there as well. Not met Donna Rose, but I know that she is part of our Coffee Fund cadre, and look forward to meeting new APG community members. Maybe Ryan, the Sikorsky helicopter guy, maybe he'll be able to join us as well. So, all right, that is it for me. I know it was a lot, but just wanted to... Coffee Fund time. Okay, let me go over here to the soundboard and push this.
Johnny, how much more coffee?
No thanks.
I love coffee. I love tea. I love the APG community. Coffee and tea and the Java and me. A cup, a cup, a cup, a cup, a cup.
Oh, yeah. The Coffee Fund is your way to contribute to our show financially. Now, we mention this from time to time. If you are someone who needs the money to buy food to eat and clothing and roof over your head or flying lessons, that's the most important of all those. Please don't send us any money. But if you have a couple extra shekels, couple of coins here and there, you want to support the show financially, please check out the Coffee Fund. couple of different ways to do it. One is called the Coffee Fund Classic Method. And since our last episode, Randy Ackerman and... Okay. All right. Randy Ackerman and Vigner contributed to the Coffee Fund Classic Method. And we also have another method that you can participate in the Coffee Fund, and that is via Patreon. And you can learn all about that by heading over to airlinepilotguy.com/coffee. You'll be glad you did, and we will too.
Captain, incoming message.
All right. Now, anybody require a break? I know that Nick does. Nick doesn't because he just took a quick one.
I took a break while Nick Camacho was talking because I had consumed a lot of hop tea.
Ah, okay. Well, I need to, so I will let you guys entertain the
I'm going to let
Nick,
Captain Nick, sing some dirty songs.
We best not.
You're trying to get us thrown off YouTube, huh? Thanks,
Yes.
Steph.
Yeah. Oh dear.
Yeah.
So, what are we going to do instead?
I was going to say I forgot to mention during the getting to know us stuff. I've just been super busy, but one of my good friends from med school was in town over the weekend, unrelated to anything I was doing for the weekend, but had some personal business to take care of, and stayed at my place for a couple of days. And Sunday morning, just had some time to kill before going back to the airport to catch her flight home. And she came down to the drop zone and watched the first load of jumpers and said, I think I should do that. So I got to kick her out of my airplane. So I just posted a couple of short clips of that on my Twitter for anyone who wants to see.
Now, do you have a favorite tandem jumper to put your friends with, or?
I mean, I think all of our tandem instructors are the best in the business.
Very, very, very politic of you there.
But certainly personality-wise, I might recommend that certain people go with one over another, perhaps. Yeah. Oh, you want people to be with someone they're gonna enjoy the experience with. So,
absolutely, yeah.
And not all personality types are compatible, but no, they're all fantastic. They're all professionals. They're all going to make sure everyone has a safe jump and also a very enjoyable one.
Excellent.
From a customer service standpoint.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, we didn't do this bit, but where's it gone? I can't see the.
Micah's just going ahead with the lyrics of the song for you in the chat room.
No. Wichita Dishman. Where's the overlay?
The overlay?
Liz?
Here, I'll get it. Liz is probably faster than me.
Yeah, we forgot that.
No, that's all right. No, I was just going to say, did anyone find the show number?
I don't even look. I give up.
Because if you didn't, now the problem was that often, because I produce them at relatively high quality, and Jeff has to fit them into whatever constraints they are, and sometimes they don't show up very well. And that was the case this week. So actually, it's at the bottom of the red satellite. That's where the show number was. So if you couldn't find it, there you go. Now you know. And by the way, the satellite that's plummeting earthwards is a Russian one, which I thought was very appropriate.
Is there one? Oh, I see. In the picture, you mean?
Yeah.
Ah.
I mean, the idea was that you had your satellite pointed up and all the satellite dish pointed up and all the satellites were below you. That was supposed to be a bit of a joke too.
The cow jumping over the moon. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, well, like dish and the spoon. Yes.
Oh, the dish and the spoon and the cow jumping over the moon. Oh, now we're getting... It's really super clever.
And none of us noticed any of that.
Yeah.
No. We need to have these things spelled out for us in a very elementary way. Otherwise, we're just dense. I'm sorry.
Oh, you're drinking Guinness.
I am, because Guinness is good for you.
It is
now,
apparently. Yes.
Now wait a minute. You know what would be even be better though?
Yeah. What's that? Oh, a glass of port with your Guinness. Oh, very good.
A velvet kitty cat.
Yes, a velvet kitty cat.
He's not going to be able to pronounce his words later. You know that.
That's like about a cup.
Oh, jeez.
You said it's 8 ounces, a cup of port?
Well, yeah, any more and you lose the power of speech.
Well, I've already lost it before we started the show without having a drop.
Well, very nice. I'm drinking a bottle of Nigel's flagship now, so thank you.
Oh,
Nigel.
very nice.
I said I wasn't going to have a beer tonight, but all day.
I'm glad you joined us. I every time I go to a bar and if I said, have you ever heard of, and I use the Nick's version of what this drink is called, Guinness with, and they all just look at me like, is this guy completely gone mad? And then I explain what it is and where it originated, and they oh, that's interesting. I said, you should try it sometime if you like Guinness and you like port. A lot of the places I go, they don't even have port available.
Oh,
at the
good
bar.
Lord.
I know.
Oh, wow. How heathen.
What's wrong with these people?
Yeah, exactly right.
Anyway, so you've turned me on to this drink, Nick. It's all your fault.
Well, hopefully a few of our listeners too. Guinness with a splash of port on top. It does make a
What's your
delicious
name for it, Nick?
Guinness with.
With, W-I-T-H.
Guinness with.
Guinness with port, I
well,
guess.
that's what the Scottish people in the Jigger Inn, which is near the Old Course
the Jigger
Hotel,
Jigger.
which is right on the edge of the Old Course in St Andrews in Scotland, called it. So I was introduced to it by a golfer in the Jigger. And the Jigger, by the way, is a golf club. It's a traditional name for a golf club.
Oh.
And I've drunk it many times when it's a bit of a cold day or something. You need a bit of a lift. A Guinness with a splash of port in the top is very.
Well, you
nice.
keep saying splash. I think I'm putting more than a splash.
I think you put half a bottle in there.
No, I didn't put half a bottle. Maybe a quarter.
Well, a glass of port. Yeah. Port glasses aren't very big.
Yeah,
so.
a glass of port.
Guinness
Andrew
with,
in Ottawa
like
says it's delicious. Thank you, Andrew.
It sounds like a cheesesteak order.
All right, Liz. Okay. She says we need to get some feedback going.
Okay, fair enough.
All right. We've already played it, so we are going...
Yes, you're right. Mayman Micah is right. A jigger is also a name for a measure of whiskey. It's also
we have
these
little things that have like an ounce and a half markings on it, like a shot glass, and then we call those jiggers.
Yeah. In the golfing fraternity, a jigger, I think, is something like a little chipping iron, something like an elevated putter, so that you can play a running shot onto the green.
I see you have an elevated putter.
Well, we like to elevate our putters to get them off the grass.
Let's start our feedback with this from Dan. He says, "Hey, APG crew, long-time listeners since about APG 155. Wow, that was a long time ago. And patron of the show. Which one were you on first, Steph?
I can never remember this.
I can't either. I had it written down somewhere.
153, 150.
Right around that 155-ish.
Yeah, Liz will know probably faster than I can remember it or figure it out.
She's looking it up. She's asking her staff.
For whatever reason, the number of the show is not very memorable to me. I remember the show very well, but I just can't remember the episode number ever.
Yeah, I remember we were downtown Charlotte.
Yeah, your memory is so wrong on that.
I just like to say that because I know that I was wrong.
Not where we were at all.
No. But it was near Charlotte. It was at the Charlotte airport.
It was at the Charlotte airport, yes.
Okay, so Dan continues, "Forgive me if this has been mentioned in any previous episode, but I searched the APG archives and the APG Slack channels for any reference and have come up empty, so I thought I'd write in. Steve Giordano, a self self-proclaimed transactional aircraft movement guru and seemingly a holder of nearly every type rating, has a YouTube channel, Speed Tape Films, where he documents his work as a ferry pilot moving airliners around the world for various aircraft leasing companies and airlines with his business Nomadic Aviation Group. It's a new company in 2021. Steve was previously associated with Jet Test and Transport. The Cockpit Casual YouTube series are truly short films, with each episode being incredibly well-produced with informative narration and calm jazz instrumental background music provided by his father, Philly jazz guitarist Steve Giordano Sr., and his various musical groups. Each Cockpit Casual video is usually 25 to 30 minutes long, and often just one part of a 3 or 4-part series. I first learned of Steve's YouTube channel after he was a guest on Flight Radar 24's AvTalk episode 123 back in August of last year. When his Twitter account was mentioned on the AvTalk podcast episode last week, I figured I should send some feedback in to the APG crew in case any AvGeek in the APG community would like to discover Steve's videos. He might be an interesting guest to get on the show someday. He just posted a new series of 3 videos in the past 2 weeks after 3 months of busy flying, and presumably tons of hotel video editing and voice work. And then he had a whole bunch of helpful links. Again, this is Dan Renner from South Dakota, and we actually have a video from his YouTube channel, Steve Giordano's channel, and it's quite interesting. I'm not going to play the entire thing, but I'm going to play a little bit of it just to give you a little taste. Speed Tape Films presents. That's
100.
Obviously about to come in and land. How it all started.
50, 40, 30, 20, 10.
Rolled it on. Now this is Steve Giordano's father's work. It's really pretty music.
My name is Steve Giordano, and I'm a ferry pilot. For as long as I could remember, I wanted to fly airplanes and travel the world. Like so many others that chose this path, it started as a childhood obsession and never really relented.
I really like this music.
If the 43-year-old me was somehow able to travel back in time to the year 2000 and tell the 23-year-old me with a fresh ATP that in 20 years he could be flying pretty much any kind of airliner on a regular basis, traveling to a new city somewhere in the world every week, have no boss, no uniform, and earn a better living than he could at the airlines, I'm not even sure that I could explain the steps he'd need to follow to get there. My journey thus far certainly wasn't planned. I'm not sure it even could have been. Getting to this point was more a result of chance, both good and bad fortune, and a willingness to go with the flow no matter how off the beaten path it took me.
Lots of great scenery in this video. It'll be in the show notes for those of you who want to take a peek.
I guess it really all started in 2005. I was working as an MD-80 pilot for a then-fledgling low-cost carrier in the U.S. It wasn't my dream job, but I had gotten there at a good time. The industry hadn't fully recovered from 9/11, and there was little growth elsewhere. I got in at the ground floor and quickly upgraded and got the seniority to hold a really good schedule. The money was bad, and I was looking to supplement my income to support my young family, and somehow the universe decided I would cross paths with this guy, Bob Allen. Captain Bob.
All right.
What's the black?
Oh, it smells terrible in there. There's a little taste of Cockpit Casual Speed Tape Films. And again, as I said, we'll have all the links in the show notes for you to take a look. And it's definitely channel. If you're a YouTube person, like to watch YouTube channels, this is a great one to subscribe to.
It looks absolutely fantastic. The production quality looks brilliant.
Mm-hmm.
Mm. Yeah, and the story sounds pretty interesting too. The content.
Yeah. What'd you say, Liz? Oh yeah, he's rated on so many different airplanes. Yeah, that's yeah. I find it hard to just keep current on one airplane. I don't know how this guy manages to do all the type ratings and keep current and everything.
I flew 2 different Caravans with the same engine but different conversions, so different switches and stuff this past weekend. And each time it's like, okay, this Caravan, yes.
Yeah, where's that?
Yeah.
Now, you know what? I hope that you did not push that button that no pilot would ever push.
One of them has a button, but it must be pushed.
But it must be. Oh, and every pilot does.
Yeah.
Don't push our buttons stuff.
When I was still working, we flew 2 different types of A340, and they were quite different. They're certainly different weights, and the 330 as well. So the company made a differences card, which we kept beside the captain's seat, and it was a brilliant aid memoir just to glance before you just started work, glance at to remind yourself of the different switches, the different modes, the different software, so that you didn't kind of revert to type or revert to the last type you flew, which was, I thought, very useful.
Yeah, very. Well, anyway, thank you, Dan. He sent this in quite some time ago, so all those references to dates and stuff in his feedback are a little bit dated. So
apparently my first show was 152, and I don't know why I can't remember that because that sounds like a Cessna.
Yeah, Liz mentioned to me. I thought it was something right around 152, something like that. Mm-hmm. All right. Let's move on to this from James. He says, hello, APG crew. It's James again with a follow-up regarding questions I asked about the mostly scrapped Boeing 727 near Victorville Airport. Kilo Victor Charlie Victor. Tail number or registration number November 518DA, Delta Airlines. I've attached my photo of the airplane as it is today and one from its glory days, just as a reference. Also, thanks for answering my questions about how commercial airline pilots log their time. Right now we're showing, or Liz is showing the what it looked like in its glory days, when it was still in operation at Delta Airlines, and then the second one is the one that
sad.
He took in the boneyard there. It is really sad. Oh, poor airplane.
It'd still fly though, wouldn't it?
I mean, a little bit of paint.
Put a big enough engine on it.
Just like
after hearing your response, I recalled flying on 727s from Ontario International Airport during the 1980s. These were the days before jetways at Ontario, California. One would walk to the aircraft via the tarmac, and with 727s, you could board the aircraft with built-in stairs at the rear of the aircraft. Most passengers would use the truck stairs and enter from the front, but not me. It provided an awesome close-up view of the engines and airframe. Was this commonly done at airports without jetways? Part 2 of my feedback is about flying with the stairs open, which was done only one time to my knowledge during the DB Cooper hijacking. Would flying with the stairs open make it challenging to control the aircraft given the added drag? Many thanks, James. So as I mentioned, he did send us some audio feedback. So why don't we play that first, and then we'll answer these questions. So here we go.
Hello, APG crew. It's James from sunny Southern California, codename VH Pilot, in Apple Valley, which is about 65 miles east of Edwards Air Force Base in the high desert. Thanks for answering my question on the 727 sitting out at Victorville Airport. I had a feeling you had flown it just by looking at it. No, that's not true. But in hearing your response, it occurred to me that back in the 80s, I would fly out of Ontario International Airport, and that was back in the day before they had enclosed jetways at that airfield. You had a small terminal, you'd walk out on the tarmac, and anytime I'd take a 727, they had the back stairs open, which were built into the aircraft. And as a passenger, you could go up those stairs and find a seat from the rear of the plane, or, as most people did, they used the stairs on the truck and win the front door. So my question is, how often did that happen with the 727s where people were given the opportunity to walk out on the tarmac and board the aircraft from the rear stairs? We're all familiar with D.B. Cooper, the hijacker on a 727 who parachuted with some money out the rear stairs. Now, what do you think the flight characteristics would be with the stairs open? Could you stop those stairs from deploying all the way? It sure seems like there would be a tremendous amount of drag by those stairs being opened. What do you think that did to the flight characteristics? Do you think the 727 was hard to handle with the stairs open in the back? Thanks again for your response. Love the show.
I now realize that I didn't need to read all that because that's basically what I guess that was a transcript of what he said in his audio feedback. So sorry about that, James.
Fix it in post.
Yeah, I'll yeah. So I probably shouldn't say anything else. It's just going to make it harder for me to fix this. Thanks, James. Great questions regarding the old three-holer. And he talked about the fact that he used to fly those from Ontario International Airport in the 80s. And he talked about, boarding via the air stairs, which were built in at the back of the airplane. And in my experience at Acme, when we were flying the 727 in the 90s and the early 2000s, the only time that we ever used, except for charters, anytime we used the air stairs for actually boarding or deplaning on the 727, we were, it was the shuttle version. We had a shuttle service going between New York LaGuardia, Boston Logan, and Washington Reagan airports, and they would utilize the aft air stairs for boarding and deplaning as well as the front door. We used them a couple of times, as I mentioned, for like ferry flights and that kind of thing. But it wasn't a normal thing. Even at places like Albany, New York, before they had jetways. Yeah, believe it or not, the capital city of the Empire State, Albany, New York, for many, many years. It wasn't until I think the early 2000s that they finally got jetways. And so it was all air stairs. And even there, we never used the aft air stairs. Now, the cleaning crews did. That was a convenient place for the cabin crews or the cabin cleaning crews to get onto the airplane while people were still deplaning. They could come up the back and start working on cleaning up the back of the aircraft. And
up the back passage.
The back passageway. Yeah, you got to clean that out every once in a while.
Going there. I had so much restraint to not say anything along those lines, and then Nick just...
Steph, you have to stop the self-restraint.
I should.
Just let it all hang out.
I didn't even crack a smile. That's how good I was, because that's what I was thinking.
I'm impressed. As far as the air stairs being extended in flight, I don't know if there were any other instances of this occurring, other than the D.B. Cooper famous, lowering the air stairs and, jumping out the back. And then hence, after that, they made the modification with the D.B. Cooper vane, a little mechanical vane that once the airstream was hitting it, it would move into position and lock or keep the aft air stairs from being able to drop down. So they didn't want that to happen again. And then once you get on the ground and the speed is below a certain speed, I don't know what the speed was, the vane would, I guess it was a spring-loaded thing. It would go to the open position, and then you could open and close the air stairs. And by the way, that was every time we came in, unless they were broken for some reason, we would also always lower the air stairs on the 727, because that was actually it was a requirement for boarding and deplaning, not via those stairs, but just to keep the airplane from tipping on the tail because of the center of gravity and loading envelope and that kind of thing. So it was actually a structural thing, as opposed to the Mad Dog. They had air stairs as well, but they weren't structurally effective in any way. They were just hanging. If it was touching the ground, it just happened to be touching the ground. It wasn't actually supporting the airplane at all. Yeah, I would imagine that lowering those stairs you'd be able to feel it up front. And I'm not sure exactly what kind of effect it would have on the handling of the aircraft, but it would probably be significant, I'm guessing.
Would it?
Discuss.
I mean, so all I'm thinking about is
I don't know.
I routinely fly aircraft where there are things on the outside of the of the airplane that are disrupting normal airflow.
Yeah. But and it doesn't really make a big deal.
I mean, if you know it's occurring, it's fine.
Yeah.
You just compensate for it. Yeah. And by things, I mean people. Sometimes large groups of people.
People things.
Sometimes large groups of people.
Well, yeah, you have more experience with things hanging off of airplanes, I guess, than I do.
Yeah. I don't know. You put like 6 or 7 people on the outside of the door in the rear of the aircraft. It definitely changes the your pitch trim characteristics. So
I was going to say,
have to be aware of it.
I flew the C-141 Starlifter that have these big giant doors that open up in the back, and then there's a ramp that comes down, but I never actually experienced that myself because I was flying the C-141 out of Travis Air Force Base back in the 80s, and Travis was the only military airlift command base that was not air drop. It was only air land. So we never did any of that airdrop stuff and open up the doors and flight. So I have no idea what the experience is of having big giant things in the airstream opening up. I would imagine it's similar to like popping a speed brake or something, maybe worse.
Yeah, I expect you get a bit of turbulence from it. I wouldn't have thought it would change the flight characteristics very much.
I mean, just thinking of what they look like and where they are in relationship to the rest of the aircraft and lift surfaces, I don't think it's going to make much of a difference at all, to be honest.
All right.
Why is it noisy?
I mean,
why is it noisy?
You wouldn't even know that you had the air stairs out. I mean, apparently. I don't know.
I mean, a lot of the military jets I flew, we hung all sorts of gear off. But, it didn't really affect things too much. So I think you get away with it without too many problems.
So nice to have these experts here. I mean,
it's one thing I'm not familiar with, flying with the steps.
I know, me neither. I don't really have many experiences at all. I don't know. Hey, Nick Camacho, do you hang things out of your airplane?
Well, they fly with the doors open a lot.
No, but I was going to say, I've got similar experiences to Steph, between having people hang off the side of the airplane and dragging around, when
but you're not a skydiving pilot. Why do people flying in your airplane want to get out of your airplane?
Trying to escape.
They just see who's flying it. Yeah.
Can we get out of here? You don't have a parachute. That's okay.
When those guys go out of the C-47 on the static line, they actually do go out and they've got this big thing called a deployment bag, a D bag. And when you've got 20 or 22 guys going out of the airplane, you end up with basically like this parachute looking thing trailing back behind the airplane that you got to pull back in. And I would say it has pretty limited impact on the airplane. It's kind of like Steph says, it's going to necessitate a trim change. And it's once that transience is over, it's just kind of the airplane's back to flying in a similar manner, just with a different trim state.
I had forgotten that you fly the C-47 and do those demonstrations and that kind of thing, but I don't know about the D-bag thing.
I know all about D-bags.
Well, you are a doctor.
Oh, man. Possible. Work that into the show title in some way. Let's see. iHaul Boxes says on the C-130, it's quite noticeable when the ramp opens.
Well, I should hope so. You have to depressurize the airplane.
Wait a minute. Is the 130 even pressurized?
I don't think those
I don't know that the
pressurized.
C-130's pressurized.
Yeah, it's pressurized.
It is. I know. It is. You're right. Yeah. Anyway. Palm Pilot Visor. That's an interesting handle.
Palm Pilot. I used to have one of those.
I know. I was
Palm
thinking
Pilot.
that was
I miss my Palm Pilot. That was my good.
Me too.
I was not a BlackBerry person. I was Palm Pilot.
I was a Palm Pilot guy as well.
Because we're pilots, so we always would graduate towards a Palm Pilot, wouldn't we?
That's true.
I mean, essential.
And this mysterious jet noise guy says, I know a few D-bags.
Apparently, he knows where they hang out, too, apparently.
Yeah, I think he's talking about us, actually. Sorry, Rick.
What can we say?
Oh, my.
Actually, in the Air Force, if you debag someone, you pull their trousers down. So I don't know if that
I always look forward
equates
to
to anything.
A casual debagging.
Yeah.
Should we move on? This is
we should.
This is
as a misdemeanor.
Yes.
I think it is time for us to move on, and we have some more audio feedback from one of the friends of the show, an expert podcaster in his own right. He has several award-winning professional podcasting shows at the probably the best podcasting network in the world, the TWIT, This Week in Technology Network, Ant Pruitt. And he sent us in some. I have to preface something. Apparently, he relates to some inside baseball because apparently Nick must have sent him some questions. And so that's what he's talking about in the latter part of his audio feedback. So maybe Nick can explain, Captain Nick can explain this after we play this audio feedback. Here we go.
Hey, what's going on, APG crew? This is Ant Pruitt, and I wanted to send in a bit of feedback because, there's actually a couple of things. First, I want to say congratulations to all of you for achieving 500 episodes recorded. I know I'm a little late, but don't judge me. I just didn't get around to sending my congratulations.
We judge you.
But yeah, congratulations on getting 500 episodes under your belt and continuing to go, even though there's only like 3 people listening to your show. So yeah, good on you. I'm kidding.
Okay. Well, thank you, Ant. That's all of his feedback. Let's move on to the next
thank you.
item.
Yeah.
Okay. Never mind.
I know you guys get a lot of support, and it's well deserved. So congratulations again. Next, I want to give a shout out to Miss Liz because, man, bless her heart. The stuff that she has to deal with getting that show produced and technical directed, good Lord. I mean, when I'm not doing my own show, I do technical directing and some producing for some of the other shows on the network from time to time. So I know what goes into all of that. And one show in particular can be quite a challenge because our main host, he is a bit ADD and he knows it. And so you have to try to keep him on task and things like that. And he does a good job with it for the most part. But every now and then it's pretty funny to watch him go off the rails. But you, Captain Jeff, dude, that's some next level off the rails. Good grief.
Hey,
I kid. Lastly, I wanted to basically take this opportunity to answer an email that I got from Captain Nick. First off, Captain Nick, send your questions to my personal email address. Don't send them to work. Had I seen it in my personal box, I would have been able to answer it a lot quicker. You have the privilege of having my personal email, so just use that going forward. Thank you. All right, now on to your question.
Before we continue here, a little slight interruption. Nick, would you go ahead and give me his personal email address, and we're going to put that in the show notes so everybody can use it as well.
I have so many questions for you, Ant. None of them are related to anything that you do.
Actually, I'm gonna sell it. So anyone who wants it, just send me $20, and I'll give you Ant's personal email.
Yeah, you should make a little cash.
Yeah, it'll help pay for the thing he's just about to talk about.
Okay, well, let's hear what he's about to talk about.
the answer, in my opinion, would be to check out SanDisk and check out OWC. OWC is pretty well known with working with the Apple side of things. I think it stands for One World Computing, but OWC, they have a lot of external drives, and you want something that's going to be Thunderbolt 3 or 4, okay? But I think if you go with the SanDisk side of things, they have a G-RAID, I think. Hold on, let me look. Yeah, it's a G-RAID, G-RAID 2. They have a bunch out there that are decently priced, and SanDisk is pretty reliable. So that would be my recommendation because it's a better value dollar for dollar, in my opinion. But it's up to you as far as what you decide on. So that's my 2 cents. Oh, and also, I hate to bring this to your attention, but you have now been dethroned as the most downloaded episode of my show, Hands on Photography. You've been dethroned by the episode where we watched paint dry. Kidding, that pun. But yeah, you have been dethroned by that episode.
That's rough.
Yeah.
Watching the show grow.
Golly.
And I appreciate you and I appreciate the APG crew for continuing to support my show. So thank you all.
Not anymore.
For the support. And yeah, speaking of my show, twit.tv/hop.
No, stop. No more.
For hands-on photography.
What is that? What is he doing here? He's doing a self-promotional thing.
He is.
We'll have all that information in the show notes. Because it was so rudely talked over by...
Check it out. Subscribe. Tell your friend. Tell your enemy. Yes, I just plugged my show.
Yes, you did.
Your show.
You did.
It's not like anybody else does that.
Oh, cheeky man.
Okay. I'm going to turn this mic off. Catch
Thank God.
Thanks for all the love. Peace.
Thanks, Ant. we kid, of course. Yeah. He is such a great guy, such a nice guy, so knowledgeable about photography. In fact, his main podcast or main show is called Hands on Photography under the Twit network umbrella. But he also is very frequently on This Week in Google. And sometimes on the big show that they do at the Twit Network, the This Week in Tech.
Yeah, I've heard him many times on that, and he's
Sunday
very
night.
funny, he's a very humble chap.
He is.
A very pleasant man to listen to because he has no ego, and he's he's just super, and you can tell by the way he's answered that question of mine just how great he is. Very laconic.
Yeah. I'm sorry to hear that your show was outperformed by the watching paint dry.
That was sad, wasn't it?
Looks like you took his advice and got the G-RAID from OWC.
No, it's from SanDisk, but yes.
Oh, SanDisk, I'm sorry. How much was
that? Don't ask.
I just did.
It was heavy and expensive. We'll just say that.
All right. This is 12 terabytes, and it's about $700, $650.
Wow, 12 terabytes. So wait a minute. So this thing, and then the chair that's like $10,000 or something, and Apple computers.
I am certainly in the wrong field. I could be retiring in all this luxury had I been an airline.
I wish I lived in the UK and was retired.
Right.
Well, we get a pension over here, and we get free health service, so don't forget that helps a lot.
I don't know what you're.
This thing weighs.
Makes no sense. What?
This thing weighs a lot. It is. I mean, it really is heavy.
Could do some weights with it.
You could, but I'm not going to because it costs so much. But it's to go with the new machine that I'm acquiring when eventually Apple deliver it. It's just that behind this machine that I'm looking at, I have got 16 terabytes, and they're RAID 1, so in fact they're mirrored. So I've got about 8 terabytes that are copied onto another 8 terabytes as a precaution because you always need backup, and they're there's less than 10% left, so I need a new mass storage device. And thank you, Ant, for that recommendation. I hope this works. I haven't plugged it into anything yet, but we'll see.
Wow.
Lovely man. He didn't answer any of the other questions I had, by the way. Just thought I'd mention that.
He's a busy man, you know.
He is. He is.
Other
indeed,
things to
yes.
do. The Watch Paint Dry podcast, I think, is just ahead of the Watch Grass Grow podcast.
Which
They're
is the
neck and
ones
neck with each other.
behind me.
Yeah.
Yes.
So way ahead of the episode that Captain Nick was on, the hands-on photography. By the way, you should check that out. Captain Nick was...
yes, it'd be nice to get back above paint drying. That would be good. Go and find the one I was on. I don't know. I don't know what he called it, but it was something to do with pet photography.
The Old Pilot or something like that.
I did listen to that, or did watch that one.
You know, I have not yet listened to that. Sorry, Captain Nick. I have to admit that, but I need to. I'll do that before the next show.
Why do I bother? I don't know.
Oh, Liz is telling us that it is now time for this week's installment. Speaking of paint drying, she says. Wow.
Ouch. Man. No love on this show for Captain Nick. Oh, my
If only I could reach all these arrows that are sticking in my back.
We thought Steph was the backstabber.
No,
yeah, right between the
It
shoulder
is not
blades,
me.
that one.
I am.
It's definitely Liz.
She's a
Okay,
professional.
anyway. So this week's episode or installment of the Plain Tale is Don't Upset the Jet 2.
Nice one, Jeff.
Oh, wait. Okay, I'll do it right. Don't Upset the Jet 2.
The Old Pilot's Plain Tales. Don't Upset the Jet 2. Last week, we chatted about historic incidents that led to aircraft upsets. One definition of which would be when an airplane in flight unintentionally exceeds the parameters normally experienced in line operations or training. Regulators around the world have realized that airline pilots are sometimes poorly equipped to recognize or deal with aircraft upsets, illustrated by the number and severity of loss of control incidents. As a result, programs of training now exist to educate pilots in the dangers of aircraft upsets, how to avoid them, and finally, both theoretical and practical exercises that allow them to experience and recover from upsets. It is one thing to experience upset training in a flight simulator, but it has considerable limitations when it comes to replicating a real event. Not only is the flight modeling unlikely to accurately represent a real aircraft's behavior when flying in a regime well beyond any actual flight tests that were undertaken, but it is impossible to simulate many aspects of real flight, like sustained high or low G-forces. EASA and the United Kingdom Civil Aviation Authority now require all pilots studying to become air transport pilots to undertake an advanced upset and recovery training course, which includes 3 hours of flight training in a suitable aerobatic aircraft. To find out more, I joined listener Basim, who had flown over from Jordan to go through his advanced UPRT course at the British Aerobatic Academy at Foulmere Airfield near Cambridge. I started by asking why he was there.
Aside from AUPRT being a requirement for freshly minted EASA pilots, EASA licenses, and to a certain degree I expect even in the UK, for myself, many airlines would require you to have an AUPRT course for employment. In my case, what I was looking for is to really sharpen my training and experience towards handling upset and recovery through this training. No matter how elaborate of training you have during your basic PPL, CPL, you will never experience or go into the depth of details that goes into an advanced upset recovery and prevention training.
A point amplified by Adrian Willis, the chief pilot of the Academy, when I spoke to him.
This is a course that's mandated by EASA and now also the CAA. It's been in existence since December 2019. And it took about 20 years for the industry to get their act together and mandate it. And now nobody can do a type rating in EASA or the UK without first having attended the course.
Adrian and Basim went on to explain how this type of course is an essential component of upset training.
Well, over the last 30 or 40 years, there's a history of airliners crashing caused by basically mishandling. As aircraft have become more and more sophisticated and automated, to a certain extent, some of the seat of the pants flying skills have died out. And this is a short course. It's only 3 hours of flying and 5 hours of ground school that gets people back into the habit of flying by the seat of the pants and following procedures in the event of loss of control. This is the first one they do. This is the on-aircraft advanced upset recovery course. But once they've completed this course, they'll fairly frequently, certainly every 6 months, be doing the same thing on a simulator. But the simulator doesn't really make sense until they've experienced the on-aircraft training. I mean, for example, you can't feel G on a simulator. So we're showing them what the various G loads feel like. And we're showing them how an aircraft performs when you unload it. And we're also introducing some startle and surprise elements. Again, startle and surprise is not quite the same thing in a simulator. So this is just the beginning of their journey along the advanced upset recovery training road, but the rest of it is done on simulators.
Most pilots would probably get away with just doing some unusual attitudes, nose up, nose down, how to immediately react to that condition, even through type rating. Some type rating courses, all of them, would have a UPRT session or two that also handles jet conditions. Now, what I can say up to now, the synthetic nature of either does not give you the same experience. I just finished my first sortie and I'm getting into the second. It does not give you that hands-on experience that will help you to unlock this training once, God forbid, you're in that condition. Beside the fact that there are actual physiologically, I mean, you feel much heavier. I mean, trying to lifting, I mean, the instructor I was with this morning told me just try to lift your hand and see how this feels. And genuinely, once you are even slightly familiar with it, it will help you to get about the startle effect and get on with doing what needs to be done. Experiencing these G-loading does not mean that you are unable to control the aircraft. In the small aircraft that we're handling today, it is designed to be controllable at these conditions. So obviously you are able to control it. In a jet transport category airplane, it might be a little bit different, but the fact is you haven't lost your ability to maneuver or to manipulate the airplane because you are experiencing G. That might be the case, but not because of the G loading you're experiencing. You still have command over yourself. But if you haven't experienced it before, you'll probably get too worked up with the fact that you are being pushed or pulled or whatever physiologically you are experiencing.
I was curious to know what sort of reaction to the training Adrian saw, particularly since Basim had admitted that he was a bit nervous about this type of flying.
They will love it. In fact, we do about 1,000 courses a year for upset recovery, and about 30% of them come back and choose to do an aerobatic rating course as well. And also, it's proper flying. You know, they've just finished their training, and they've been sat in a simulator or a multi-engine aircraft doing instrument flying, and now they're looking out of the window at very strange attitudes. And proper flying is really great fun for them.
I slept well yesterday, but not easily. I mean, I still have my second sort, and I'm thinking spin recovery. I don't want to go into a spin. I've never been into a spin. I tried it on a simulator, and it doesn't feel right. But I doubt that this little worry is a bad thing. I think it's a good thing to be not to take it for granted, even if you're an aerobatic pilot. I mean, there's this sense of to be on your toes. That okay, that's a great machine, and obviously it's within its envelope. It's designed to be aerobatic, whether the Grob or the Extra. But then again...
I found Basim's instructor, a Polish Air Force ex-MiG-29 pilot who had recently joined BAA and was now teaching the EASA upset syllabus, and asked him how his students got on and what he thought of the importance of this training. It was reflected in Basim's comments, even though he had personally borne the cost of flying to the UK in order to participate in it.
Maybe upside down situation is not really common during commercial career, but still you can try it in some small plane and even learn how to recover from them. Yeah, most of them really enjoy this kind of flying and appreciate the way of training. It depends mainly on the health of individuals. So, yeah, so most pilots appreciate the way of training. Sometimes there could be some with their sickness, but that's all. Yeah, I think it's really important because it's still better to experience some upsets first on some small aircraft, just familiarized with them and learn how to recover from them instead of real life, right? And I'm sure that you are unable to learn how to recover from upsets and how any upsets just feels on simulators. So I think it's a really important part of training for commercial pilots.
I will tell you one thing, aside from AUPRT training per se, many, especially academy graduates, not necessarily with cadet programs who are in the pipeline towards an aviation career, have this misconception that once you get into the airlines, you're not necessarily all this automation and advanced systems that is on the aircraft will help you fly the plane. In fact, one of the things that they point out about the Air France 447 flight, which kicked off this system of UPRT, before it used to be called unusual attitude, right? Now it's the whole system that is specified by ACAO, by EASA, even the FAA. And in the 447, one of the most memorable things that I remember from the accident, if you go through the transcript, one of the first officers said, "We're glad we're on a 330, because as if it will help them out of the situation well they got themselves into by the way they responded to the malfunction that they've experienced." So what I can say for sure and attest to, that this course helps the pilot bring them back from this over-reliance on not only automation, because automation might be the reason why you're in an unusual situation, but to go back to the basics of flying, because this is what it is, really. Especially for a freshly minted pilot like myself, who I have no operational experience yet, it seems only logical for me to be ready with that tool with my hand.
Basim gave me an idea of the types of manoeuvres that they would look at in the air, some of which were basic stability demonstrations, to remind him that in many cases his aircraft had no innate desire to plummet earthwards, and if he just let go, then things might end up better than if he fought with the controls.
But one of the interesting things that we've done today was to experience firsthand the stability embedded into the design of the aircraft. What we get I'm not sure about yourself, but if you go through the ATPL exams, you go through all the theory behind the flight with longitudinal stability, spiral stability, lateral stability, but you've never experienced them firsthand. And that's what we did today as part of the exercise, is just to understand that the aircraft is designed to have to be stable towards after an upset, and you experience it firsthand, and you get this phugoid isolation, where you upset the aircraft's trajectory, and it just keeps going towards its upset, which gives you the indication that, or at least in some situation, maybe you don't need to make any inputs to the aircraft. Maybe, in fact, and that's why you have the pilot-induced error, right? Sometimes maybe the right course of action is just to leave it be, and it will go back to its... so that was one of the exercises today. I still have 4 more to do today. You have the recovery from incipient spins, unusual attitude recovery, high, nose down, spin recovery, which can't say I'm looking forward to, but for sure I will. Something I need to go through.
The chief pilot, Adrian, explained how this practical upset training dovetails with future training in a simulator.
One of the key things in the advanced upset recovery course, though, is to provide training that's compatible with the training they're going to receive on the simulator at a later date. So we're simulating flying in a bigger aircraft. So, we do the first hour in a grob side by side, and we do hour 2 and 3 predominantly in extras. Now, the extra has quite a fast rate of roll, and an airliner doesn't. So we simulate an airliner by constraining the rate of roll somewhat. But the extra is perfect for the job because, of course, you can let the student take it further than you can in a more fragile aircraft. Well, one exercise which is quite enlightening for the student pilot is where we demonstrate the effect of unloading during a roll. So what we'd do is we'd raise the nose 45 degrees and then apply a gentle amount of roll to simulate an airliner, but no backstick, no rudder, and showing them how much pitch attitude they lose. And typically after 180 degrees, they'd be pointing vertically down. We'll then repeat it, but unloading to half a G, and demonstrate that we can do a whole 360 degrees before it gets in the same position, but also that the unloading gives them a faster rate of roll. It's particularly important if you're flying something like an Airbus. The routines we're teaching them, the procedure we're teaching them obviously are very basic because they've got to remember it in several years' time when they're startled and surprised and put under pressure. And it's the same procedure that they'll have reinforced in the simulator.
Adrian commented on where he thinks that practical advanced upset training will go next, and then he and Basim gave us some final thoughts on the course.
Yes, I believe in the future it's quite likely that existing pilots will be required to do some on-aircraft upset recovery training. At the moment, it's all new entrants. So somebody who's been flying for 10, 15 years will never have seen it or experienced it. And it'd be great for these older pilots, more experienced pilots, to get an opportunity to taste it as well. A lot of people are anxious when they first arrive, and a lot of people do give us their lunch back. But after 3 hours, they have all thoroughly enjoyed themselves and learned a great deal, and more capable of being an airline pilot.
Because of the background I have, I come from a non-aviation background, and I'm stepping in at a later time of my life. So I have to basically be prepared for what's to come. And when you look at the prerequisites that many airlines have, in fact, one of the 2 airlines that I've applied for already, who do not require they accept low-hour pilots, they both had APRT as part of their prerequisites for it. But even if there was no prospects for it, as I told you, you have to be equipped with these experiences, because part of in the accidents that are related to upset or an unusual attitude condition, the startle effect and this biases and the natural tendencies that we have to push the nose down while we shouldn't, or the other way around. There is no way, sadly we cannot talk to those who crash, but if I was to put myself in their shoes at that time, I probably would have done exactly what they've done. So how can I do it differently? And that's why I'm here today.
My thanks to Adrian Willis, Chief Pilot of the British Aerobatic Academy, his instructor, Adrian, the amazing 1,000-hour Polish MiG-29 display pilot of RIAT 2012, 15 and 16, and of course Bassam from Jordan, who is getting close to the end of his long journey through commercial pilot training, and we wish him luck in his search for future employment.
I think they're looking for some MiG-29 pilots over in that part of the world.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, you know, that's great. You're such a great interviewer, Captain Nick. That was awesome stuff.
Well, thanks very much. Bassam was very clued in to what he was doing, actually, which I take my hat off to him, because there's not a lot of people who would come from a completely different background. He's originally an engineer in the telecom industry, and he's decided, he made enough money and saved enough to follow his dream quite late in life. He's got a lovely wife and kids back home in Jordan to fund his own training, and he's nearly completed it. So, but he was actually very, very eloquent, considering English is, of course, his second language, and very clued up in what was going on. So he understood exactly the importance of all this, and of course, Adrian Willis, who runs this particular training agency, very, very nice guy. And in fact, I interviewed him just after he'd been up with the Civil Aviation Authority examiner to go through a check ride. So I was amazed how calm he was. I'd have been a bit of a wreck after one of those. And then rather shy Adrian, our MiG-29 pilot. They were three really professional people, and I was thoroughly impressed with them all. And I hope that came across in the interview.
It did. A couple of things I want to say is that in the airline flying world, we're flying, transport category airplanes. And we come from all different backgrounds to this place. And I always thought that my experience as a military pilot was priceless, because I got to experience unusual attitudes from the very beginning in pilot training. And I thought that experience was, just you can't replace it with anything, except now that they're doing this kind of a training program. I think the point that he made about the fact that you can do this stuff in the simulators, which is what we're doing all around all the airlines in the world are doing this simulator upset recovery training, but you don't have the G-forces that you really experience when you're in an upset. And it's so cool that they're doing these kind of programs where you're actually in a real airplane really pulling G's when you're going through all these unusual attitudes and recovering from them. And that is so important, and that's as close as you can get to the military kind of training that you and I received, Captain Nick.
Absolutely, and they're doing them in truly aerobatic aircraft as well. EASA in certainly the United Kingdom doing it. I'm not sure it's compulsory.
It's not
in America yet.
It should be.
The only CFIs are required to do it in the United States.
Okay.
Anything below that, it's not a requirement.
I have a question for you then, Nick.
Spin training, you said?
Spinning, do you guys do spins at all, or is that something that's not even a requirement anymore?
I have.
Yeah, I know you have.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're talking to the other Nick.
No, I'm talking about you, Camacho.
Okay.
Camacho, listen up.
Camacho, man. Listen to me, man.
I'm listening.
So as far as CFI training and that kind of is getting into a spin and doing a spin recovery even part of the curriculum anymore or requirements?
If you're going to become a CFI, it is.
Okay, it is. Okay,
right.
Good.
But if you're just doing private pilot convert, it's not a requirement for any other
Yeah.
It's not a requirement to even see.
But I've done spin training because I think it's important.
Yeah. You're kind of doing a lot of flying on the edge kind of stuff, out there stuff. So that's very important.
Yeah.
But if you're going to just aim straight at the airlines and you're going to do a direct path without being a CFI, you're going to try and just do an approved course, are you ever going to encounter this type of aerobatic maneuvering?
No, I don't think so.
Not on purpose.
I mean, in a commercial license, you got to go to.
But I mean, that's the whole point, right? Like, no one expects. You're not expecting to do it.
Right.
But the point is that you could find yourself in this situation, and if you find yourself there and you have never experienced it before, the odds aren't good that it ends well.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's half the startle factor, is that you're suddenly experiencing things that you've never done before. You'd never dream that your airliner would suddenly be in a 2 or 3G or perhaps even more maneuver, and you've now got to recover from that aspect of it. Basin was particularly taken with the fact that he had now felt how hard G was, and he had proved to himself that he could still maneuver, he could still use the controls, which he wasn't certain he would be able to do that in the real case. Well, he now knows. He knows what it feels like, and if ever he ended up in a high G spiral, perhaps he would, have much less problem recovering. So I personally think that practical flying is always good, and unusual positions in real aircraft are great. They only get 3 hours. That's the compulsory requirement, is to do 3 hours. And then everything else is done in a simulator. And the problem with the simulator is, of course, that the actual aircraft have never been flight tested into these extreme regimes of flight. So the simulators are not particularly well modeled. No one really knows what a lot of these aircraft do when they get, down to 50 knots upside down, for example, or whatever. So, you have to take your simulator training with a pinch of salt. The simulator may not replicate anywhere near what a real airplane will end up doing if you end up in a really difficult, unusual position.
It'd be great to be able to do that, but obviously that's not practical.
No, that's exactly right, because you could end up losing the aircraft, because we're talking about regimes of flight where bits start coming off. Exactly.
Structural
so
integrity is
the
also
simulator
important.
is not the be-all and end-all, despite the fact that everyone gets simulator training. And I love the fact that Adrian Willis said he would love to see the older pilots do this. I think a lot of the older pilots would look upon it with a certain amount of reluctance, because they're about to go and turn upside down, perhaps for the first time in a 30 or 40 year career. But I personally think that's a perfectly, an excellent way, because after all, they're the guys with flying experience that would be expected to recover their aircraft, not the young first officers, because even though they've had more training than their captains, you do wonder where the emphasis ought to be.
I am concerned, Nick, Captain Nick. Looks like that chair has moved positions.
It's got a mind of its own.
Yes,
may have been an earthquake. I don't know.
Well, the sun was shining in that direction, so I thought I'd spin it round for you.
An unusual attitude of office
There you
chair.
go. But thanks very much indeed to the three guys I chatted to. It was very kind of them to give me
awesome.
their time.
I look forward to part 3.
No, part 3.
Oh,
that's it.
No part 3? Okay.
I think a couple of things to note about spin training. Rick made a comment about unloading the wing. And I think one of the things with spins is it's kind of like a stall, right? It's when you get that startle factor, and that is very real when you're a low time pilot in an airplane, right? And the airplane does something that you don't expect. Like in a stall, if it breaks and the nose goes down, your initial response is to correct it, right? By pulling back. And I think it's kind of the same way in a spin as well. The the correct inputs to get out of a spin are maybe not quite. They aren't like your immediate response. So it's something that you can read about it in a book, but it's even better if you go and do it. And then it's even better beyond that if you go and stay proficient in it, because, obviously big airplanes like you guys are in, it's a little different. It's a lot different story, but small airplanes, that's one of the bigger fatality issues in small airplanes is stalls and spins. And the reason is because they're close to the ground. It's not that they're inherently dangerous, right? It's just if you get into that, if you get into that situation and you recover incorrectly, you don't have room to recover. So, the training I think is a good step, but I think for it to really be really effective, I think you need to maintain some level of proficiency at it versus just, being able to do it once or doing it once 20 years ago or something. So that when that instant happens, if you're close to the ground, base to final turn, right, is when it always happens in GA airplanes. And so you're 300 or 400 feet off the ground, and that's the time that it becomes a deadly issue, and you have to put the correct inputs in immediately so you don't meet the ground.
Yeah, I agree 100%, Nick. I'd love to see every pilot a requirement for them, if not annually, then perhaps biannually. But of course, you're going to really had an awful lot of resistance from the airlines who have to pay for all this training.
Yeah.
So, I
especially
would
for
love
something
to
that's
see
not that base to final turn in GA aircraft is not the same as a final approach for an airliner. It's
right.
a bit different there. But I don't know. I still think it's invaluable, and I think pilots who are concerned about it and thinking about it and interested in being proficient at these recovery techniques will seek out the training to do it, whether it's mandated or not.
Highly recommended.
I can't agree more. So I hope that came out in the two stories we've had. Mm-hmm. So if you are a pilot who works at this for a living or just does it for fun, it's worth just paying a few $100 and finding a decent school with aerobatic aircraft and perhaps asking them to give you a few hours doing this just to give yourself the knowledge, because in aviation there's so much to learn, but this is for me up in the top ranks of essential knowledge.
This could save your life.
Yeah. And 300 people behind you, or whatever.
Or even if you're just flying up there in an airplane by yourself, it'll save your life at least.
Yeah.
All right. We'll quickly go on to a couple more pieces of feedback. We'd like to get these in before Steph leaves. Brad sent us a couple of pieces of feedback. We're going to go with the second one. He says, "Hello again, APG. This is my second feedback in the same day. I enjoy listening to the wealth of experience provided on your podcast and appreciate the high standards you shoot for. 50% accuracy."
Meeting those standards.
That is a high standard for us. Yeah, there you go. As a bus driver for Dr. Steph's airline by necessity, and someone who will also retire in the same year as Captain Jeff, I have a question that I would love to hear your esteemed panel's opinions on. I recently planted an A321 onto Charlotte's runway 18 right in favorable weather conditions, no excuses, and as most pilots, sulked and pouted the entire drive back home. We've all done it, but how do those of you on this podcast handle the aftermath emotionally? I'm guessing that the APG crew can't relate since this has not happened to them personally. But hypothetically speaking, if it did, your thoughts. I'm also guessing other fellow aviators might benefit from your thoughts. I'm hoping that as a 25,000 plus hour pilot, a lot of experience. That's very equivalent to me. Since we're retiring in the same year, I think we probably have a lot of the same experience. I can avoid expensive therapy and instead seek the consolation I am pathetically looking for on your podcast. He laughs. Hoping Captain Jeff made it home from Kansas safely. I did. Thank you. Appreciate it, Brad. Brad Nunn He says, my best to you all. Okay, the old hard landing, and then our hard reaction on ourselves. How do we handle that? What do we do?
All right, I guess I'll start because I had a very immediate answer to this in my brain. So, unlike some of the airline pilots, when I'm flying, some days I get up to like 25 landings in a day, sometimes 30. And I guarantee you that on any one of those days, one of them's bound to be not the greatest, just because that's how it goes. I have a couple of advantages working for me. One is that there are rarely other people in the airplane when that happens. So the only person with the knowledge of the terrible landing is...
Who's there to witness
Nobody
it?
knows. It wasn't
so
really
that
a hard landing.
You know what, though? But it doesn't change that, like, that being hard on yourself. Like, oh, that was just not the best. Like, I could do so much better than that. You still have that, like... personal critique, and I think all of us who are pilots are very self-critical, and you know, you can have 29 greaser landings in a day, and that one not so great landing is the only one that you remember from the entire day. But yeah, not having other people on board is helpful because no one else is there to remind you of how terrible it was. Although one time I thumped one in with our chief pilot and instructor on board, and he wasn't paying any attention until I touched down, and I got his attention. He went, what was that? Sorry.
Yeah, that should teach you.
I know.
Pay attention.
Yeah, pay attention. Pay attention to what I'm doing over here. So yeah, you know, you're bound to do that, of course, when, you know, it's someone that you really want to impress on board. It just is not going to be the greatest, you know, landing ever. But I mean, I guess the best way I deal with it is I don't really have a choice. I have to keep going back out and doing it over and over and over again. So if I have one that I'm like, well, that just really wasn't fantastic. Okay, well, why? You know, was it something changed weather condition wise? Was I just, you know, it's, you know, middle, like 3/4 of the way through the day and I'm tired and I'm letting myself not, you know, perform to my high standards? Well, that's certainly something that needs to change and I need to pay attention to. You know, was it something that I really just wasn't even sure why it wasn't such a great landing? Okay, well, look at the next one, you know, and pay attention to everything that's going on and figure out where it was that it wasn't so great. Every time you get a chance to do anything in an airplane, it's a learning opportunity or a chance to perform at your best. So that's kind of the approach I try to take to it. I try to make it a moment for self-improvement as opposed to a moment for being self-critical. But sorry, you had to land on 18 right. That's the wrong runway to land on in Charlotte. We listen to requests for the east runway all day long, not the west runway.
It seems like that's the one I always get, either that or 36 left, which is the same runway.
It's the same runway.
The other end.
It's usually 36 left because it's almost always north off, so it must have been really gusty winds out of the south or something that day, but all day long. Any chance of the right side? Any chance of the right? Nope. On request? Nope.
No chance.
Nope. Yeah. But,
so how do you work through? Well, you know, Captain Nick, I don't think he's ever had a bad landing, so kind of a moot point.
I don't know. I think he's the only one here with back problems, right? Those had to.
Oh, that's true.
Those had to be generated by something.
This has definitely just been like roast Captain, like just. Captain Nick is going to need therapy after this podcast.
I am. That's just from my experiences as a passenger, you understand. But yeah, I one of my worst was on a line check. Would you believe? So you know.
No, that's what I mean. It's like when you're trying to do your darndest to be your best. That's when it's the worst.
And you know, I came in and I gave the usual amount of backstick to flare the airplane, and it hardly seemed to pitch, and we walloped into the runway, and I came very close to snagging the airplane. In fact, I wrote it up saying, you know, hard landing.
Something wrong with the airplane.
Yeah, exactly right. That was my instant reaction. And I got a call from the engineers on my way home on the mobile, and they said, Captain, are you sure you want to stick by that write-up you put? And I said, well, and I explained what happened. They said, yeah, but have you any idea what we're going to have to do to this airplane if we check it out for what you've written? And I went, yeah, okay.
Yeah, never
perhaps
mind.
It was.
You know what? We'll let someone else take a chance with it and see what happens. If they have the same experience, then they can write
Actually,
it
you need to put it up for a no fault found and let someone else have a go. Every now and again you do it. You do what you think is right. And you get it wrong. I mean, we're all human, for heaven's sake. Yeah.
I know Jeff, Captain Jeff, has spent a lot of money on therapy for this problem. So we'll just skip his.
Honestly, it's only when certain people in the APG community razz me about, especially those in the jump seat and causing all kinds of distractions in the cockpit, and then somebody's videotaping it. Jennifer. And then everybody razzing me about a landing that wasn't really that bad, actually.
But they're going to tell you that anyway.
Yeah. But honestly, if I get that bad landing or not optimum landing, I kind of go, what I do and what most of the people I fly with do is we'll say something like, I think I flared a little bit too late, or I flared too high, or we kind of all analyze it almost immediately. Sometimes when we're still in the landing rollout.
Yeah, you're still rolling out and like,
I
did this. I shouldn't
shoot,
have done that.
I think I didn't, I waited too long to flare, or I flared too early. That's usually the case for me. I have to sometimes talk myself into keep it coming down, and then flare, a little bit later. And then usually I'll roll those things on. And of course, the ones you roll on, the passengers don't say a darn thing, which is amazing to me. I'm thinking, what? Really? And then, Liz is saying, don't you make a funny PA? So if I really prang one on, I kind of diffuse it by making a PA like, this is Captain Crash, from the cockpit. And, you want to really take good care when you're opening those overhead bins today, because those things are going to be, all
your
jumbled
stuff's
up
all over the
shifted.
place, just a mess. Sorry.
And I find that, using humor to diffuse is really a helpful thing, because there are some passengers that don't do a lot of flying, and if they experience a firmer landing than they are used to, some people really get mad, and they think that something was really unsafe. Tim Van Ram is confessing. Dare we talk about backing out of the garage with the door closed?
Nah.
Did I tell everybody about that in my brand new 1-week-old van back in 1998?
I think you did.
Not that I really remember much about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, the loser cruiser.
That's okay. Sometimes I can tell. Well, at some point, I'll tell the story of the refrigerator that was in the garage that I destroyed.
Yeah. So, but honestly, did it have beer in it? Liz asks.
Only peaches. Lots and lots of peaches.
Only peaches. Okay. Well, no loss then. But anyway, so basically
they spoiled in there.
Oh, that's not good.
That wasn't great.
So we do I usually do my self-critique, and then, pull off the runway and on the taxiway, and I go, oh well, new airplane, new day. I just honestly, I shake it off and don't think about it
It's
anymore.
all right for you. We long haulers, we used to have to wait like 3 weeks for our next landing, and you've got 3 weeks of sitting around going, oh God, I wonder if I can get it right next time.
Yeah, that's true. I live in a different world when we on every trip I probably get at least.
I've got to go back up like 3
landings.
minutes later. So
I was just gonna make that point, Captain Nick, is that like one of my favorite things to do, especially in the Luscombe, because that airplane is kind of challenging to land. So I just love going out and doing pattern work and doing landings, and I could go out and do 8 or 10 landings in an hour or whatever. But the nice thing there is if you do a really bad one, then you're right back at it and you get to go correct it right away. And I was just gonna say, like, it would be miserable to end on a bad landing and be like, oh man, I'm going to live with that 3 weeks before I get another
Exactly.
chance.
You see, that's why I'm mentally disturbed. I mean, that's what it's down to. Yeah.
Now we know.
That makes sense.
But I mean, Nick, in the same vein, you don't get to fly Betty's Biscuit Bomber very often. And when you do get your hands on it and get a chance to do a landing, I mean, it must be awful if it doesn't go particularly well.
Yeah, it does. And, the problem for me there, and I think I've mentioned it a couple of times, is just that it's such a different experience for me than all of the other airplanes I fly. Everything else I fly, I'm touching down, 3 or 4 feet above the ground. And so the sight picture, whether it's my Debonair or the Luscombe, the sight picture is close. There's a little bit of changes. and then you get in the C-47, and it's the sight picture is just so much different that it changes all the geometry of the flare and everything. The first time I ever made a landing in that airplane, and this is not an exaggeration. I'm coming down, short final, coming down, had it pretty stabilized and everything. And I am starting to, you know how you're like flying, you're like, all right, I'm going to get a good stable final here. I'm going to bring it down. And then you're like, all right, I'm going to think about the flare. I'm going to try to start flaring there. All right, here we go. It's time to start flaring. And then you start flaring. I was in like the just starting to think about the flare when the wheels hit the ground. And the airplane hit the ground so hard that I almost kind of went into shock for a second. And it just it bounced back up into the air. And I was just in shock for a second. And Sherman is sitting next to me. You know Sherman. And he's just, he doesn't say anything. He's just over there kind of looking at me. And at this point, he's got like one hand on the yoke. And then, I got it kind of straightened up and I got it slowed down and everything down to the end of the runway. And he just looked at me and he was like, I thought you were just going to kind of give up there for a minute. That wouldn't really roll for you at all. I said, yeah, I was thinking about it myself.
Giving up is a real thing. You kind of get on airliners, you get to sometimes you just get used to doing these things over and over and over again. And you go, and especially when the landing conditions are not, like you don't have a big crosswind or something, like you're not really fighting the weather, and
you're not working hard. You're just like,
you're not working hard, and you kind of go, oh, okay, I can flare. Oh, okay, I give up, and then boom. When you kind of get in that rut, then you have to kind of convince yourself, you don't give up. Keep working until the thing is on the ground.
Continue flying the airplane.
Continue flying. Well, continue flying even after it's on the ground. But I always get my best landings when conditions are not great, like really super high gusty winds,
gusty, variable all over the place. Yeah,
right. And you're just really focused on get it on the ground
because you're focused on flying the airplane. You're like, I have to continue flying this airplane, otherwise I'm going to be in the trees over there.
You're quite right, Jeff. On a day when it's easy, I'm often I'm in my car going down the M25 on the way home, and I'm still on short finals, because I'm thinking, it should be an easy ride home. I'll go home and I'll do this and I'll see the wife and pat the dog and bang! Oh!
You're a little ahead of yourself.
You wake up
I'm still flying.
I'm still in the airplane.
Great discussion about hard landings, and thank you, Brad, for bringing it up.
Brad, you sound like a CLT local. Let me know if you're around anytime.
Yeah, we need to do a Charlotte meetup sometime.
For sure.
That'd be a lot of fun. I'd love to meet you. All right, Greg, this is the last one, number 9. Greg Peterson, our big-ass fan in Lexington, Kentucky. He says, really? People will do anything to get attention. This is from avweb.com, and the article's headline is Pilots Hope to Swap Planes in TV Stunt. Okay, so 2 pilots will attempt to swap airplanes in flight in a made-for-TV stunt that will air live on April 24th, which is later this month. According to The Hollywood Reporter, Red Bull Air Force member Luke Akins and his cousin Andy Farrington will take a pair of Cessna 182s to 14,000 feet and push them into synchronized dives. The autopilots in the aircraft have been rigged to hold the aircraft in vertical dives with the help of custom air brakes that fold out from the belly, according to the Showbiz publication. They will then cut the engines, exit the aircraft, and maneuver to the others in time to restart the engines, recover from the dive, and land. The stunt is called Plane Swap and will be covered live on Hulu in the U.S. and on Red Bull TV at 7 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time on April 24th. This is a quote from Akins. It's the pinnacle of my career, and my goal is to inspire the world and show that anything is possible. It says, this name might ring a bell as the guy who did a free fall without a parachute into a big net for a live TV stunt in 2016. Yeah, I remember that. That was pretty impressive, actually. Farrington is also described as an experienced skydiver. You can set your mind on something that at times seems wild, crazy, and unattainable, But through ambition and creativity, you can make it happen, he told the publication. So, okay, so is this a crazy stunt or is this ridiculous or what? I don't know what to make of this. It's interesting.
Meh. No, just kidding. Actually, just to back up for a second, I actually think those two guys are cousins. I read that somewhere.
Yeah, they say right here.
Does it say
and
that?
cousin Andy Farrington, yeah.
Yeah, okay, sorry. Yeah, it's right there. So I think they're actually going to kill the engine on these when they do this for the dive. But another C-182 jump pilot I was talking to was like, sounds like a great way to shot cool the engine. But you know,
I was thinking, yeah, if you overshoot a little bit and the engine's running, that's not good.
Not good. Yeah, no, I mean you definitely don't want that prop turning.
You want the propeller not spinning.
So.
Yeah, I don't think they're worried about the engines.
No, I don't think so.
With the amount of budget
they
spent
on
this
then
thing.
the next comment was Red Bull has deep pockets, so
yeah,
who cares? No, I mean I have no doubt that they're going to be able to pull off what they're intending to do. I think they've probably already put a lot of training and time and effort into figuring out how to do this correctly. These guys are exceptionally experienced skydivers and pilots, and they have a lot of experience doing not this exactly, but things with transferable skills. So I'm excited to watch it. I think it's going to work out for them.
Where are they doing this?
They're doing it over the water somewhere.
I know, but I mean, is it like in the U.S. somewhere? Or?
Yeah, off the coast of California, I thought.
Yeah,
oh, okay.
Yeah. I think over the Pacific somewhere.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not 100% sure, but
yeah, I'm hoping that will be over an unpopulated area, just in case they.
I mean, if they don't get back into it'll be in the water for sure. The airplane. So, I mean, either way, it's going to be an interesting stunt to watch, or a nice C-182 crashing into the ocean. So.
Liz asks a very important question. I'm sorry to interrupt you, Steph.
No.
Do you think they'll have fire extinguishers in their pants?
Since they're over the water, I'm not so sure that they're worried about the post-crash fire. They can forgo that essential piece of equipment this time around.
Now, presumably, they are going to have parachutes.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Hope so.
Yeah.
Well, you say 100%, but I mean.
That one guy sort of jumped out and didn't have one.
Yeah, exactly.
But he also had a giant net set up that he was planning on landing into.
But they don't have giant nets for this?
And there have been guys who've jumped out without parachutes and made a mid-air rendezvous and received their parachutes to complete a safe landing. So,
yeah, that was... that guy's crazy too.
It wouldn't have surprised me if these guys had done it without parachutes, but...
Mm-hmm.
No,
that'll be probably their next one once they.
I could be wrong,
right.
but I'm 99% sure they have parachutes for this one. They're
the only thing I have against this is the fact that there's absolutely no reason for doing it whatsoever other than to make money, and I just
ratings, man.
That's a perfectly legitimate reason. I don't understand.
I was going to say that's the main reason that most people do things.
Do anything
in this world.
Make money. And they've gotten the appropriate permissions to do this. Is it good role modeling for people who might not make such good decisions in their lives? Perhaps not.
To make those people feel even better
sounds
about their
so
bad
much
decisions.
like Russian YouTubers who stick fireworks up their trousers. I just think this is completely pointless and sends entirely the wrong.
Well, let me ask you this question.
Responsible aviators.
What kind of YouTube channels are you subscribed to?
Let me just ask you this question, Nick. Are you going to watch it?
No, well, it's probably going to be pushed in front of my face whether I want to watch it or not.
So you're going to watch
it? But I certainly won't go, look, it's April the 24th at 7 p.m. ETD. I'm going to turn the telly on and watch it.
I'll send you a text to remind
me. I won't.
I mean, that's only midnight. That's midnight for you. I'll make sure that you're awake. That's fine.
No, that's okay. Thank you. I'm turning my phone off. You cannot call me.
Text Jilly.
Yeah, it does seem kind of ridiculous.
She's going to be really impressed when you wake her up at midnight.
Is this a necessary thing? No. Is anything that Evel Knievel ever did necessary? No. Is it fun to watch?
Well,
yes.
I have exactly the same attitude to Evel Knievel's efforts, quite honestly.
Party pooper.
Yeah.
Seriously.
All right. Well,
I'm excited to watch it. I'll put that out there.
Yeah, I think you just have to be careful about where when you start drawing lines like that, right? Like my personal feeling about this thing is parachutes make me nervous in general. So like regular skydiving, I have trouble balancing the risk ratio. And Jeff and I were talking about this while he was here. And I know single engine airplanes also don't make a lot of sense a lot of times when you're talking about risk, but when you start saying like, this is not necessary, like 90% of the flying I do is not necessary, and it increases the general risk level of my life. But I'd be bummed if somebody was like, you shouldn't do that or you can't do that.
Yeah.
Well, when you get an airliner, there is a risk,
Right.
but it's relatively low. And the same would apply in your GA flying. In a lot of things in life, the risk in this maneuver is not generally considered to be low.
But this is
so
not something...
at some point you go, there's a line here which you shouldn't cross.
Yeah.
Sure.
Going over Niagara Falls in a barrel would be above that line.
Is that a bad idea?
I would have to think about. So I think that the risk of these guys praying in equipment up and everything is probably much higher than normal. But if they have parachutes and everything on, I don't know how much higher the risk is of this stunt versus like flying a single engine piston airplane into minimums, IMC minimums on a regular basis, right?
That's crazy. Yeah.
Yeah,
crazy.
you look at all the relative risks of these things. Here's how I approach this. These guys are guys who this is the career that they've chosen. They're
trying to kill themselves.
Stunt professionals. Let's just say that. I mean, if you want, you can use that term professional however you'd like. But stunt performers who have a lot of experience flying aircraft, but also skydiving, and I guarantee you they have taken all of those risks into account and they've made their decision on it. This is not something that anybody that I know who is a casual sport jumper on the weekend, or even, someone who's an avid GA pilot is going to go out and attempt to recreate or do. It's just not what we're interested in. But for these guys, this is their livelihood. This is part of their profession. They're going to get paid to do this. So that's how I look at it.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yes, no, I agree. And there's a great history of this sort of spectacular event. I mean, Houdini used to do it and he got killed. People have done all sorts of things where they've been killed doing this sort of thing. Whether it be tightrope walking, across Niagara or whatever. I can understand it. But this kind, I don't want to see it be a party pooper. It's probably my age that makes me think that this is really a little bit over the top and unnecessary. But I wish them well, and I hope, please, that they come back safely.
Of course.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I can see both sides of the argument, actually. I think we all do, but it will be interesting to see, I guess.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, we're going to end this now. We're a little bit beyond our normal show length, a little bit on the long side, but I thought it was.
That's what she said.
Was good. Thank you. Yeah, she was right. And I'm sad in a way because there are a few pieces of feedback that we've been shuffling on to the next show, including Mike has an interesting article about the water treatment at the Buffalo International Airport, or de-icing, but the treatment of the de-icing fluid in there. It's pretty cool.
We need to do that in the middle of the summer, Jeff.
Okay.
Give it another few weeks, it'll be perfect timing.
Yeah, that's
perfect
true.
weather.
Yeah.
Talking about de-icing.
Well, Phil sent in some stuff. Spencer has an update on his his flight progress, and a lot more, including some feedback from Andrew regarding his flight progress, which is pretty exciting. Sorry, Andrew, we're going to have to push it to the next one. Carrie, also an update on his aviation journey, and Brian has some interesting aviation FAA regulation news, tongue in cheek. Anyway, lots of good stuff that we are going to carry on into the next show. And so if you're out there wondering if we're ever going to play it, yeah, we will. We'll get around to it eventually. So stay tuned, stand by, and all that. But in the meantime, we're going to point you over to the airlinepilotguy.com website, where you'll find all kinds of stuff. And we're not going to go into great detail there. Just visit it and find out what's there. You'll be surprised, I think. We are also on the social medias. And Steph, would you like to tell us about all that stuff?
Sure, I'm still here, so let's do it.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
If you want to leave, go ahead. We'll do it. We'll cover it.
We talked about me leaving early, but no, I'm glad I got to stick around with you guys for the entire show. It's been a fun one.
Yeah, we're glad you did too.
Facebook.com/airlinepilotguy. That's where you can find us on Facebook and most of our great community. We're also on Twitter. We're at APG Crew, and find our individual Twitter handles pinned to the top of that page. Instagram is APG Crew, and if you really want to get into the weeds of things, Hillel will tell you all about Slack.
Oh, he will. Let's see. Yeah, sure enough, he's here up at the cabin. Hey, Hillel, can you tell us about Slack?
Fire in the hole!
Oh, maybe not. Okay. Can you do that later? All right. Tell us about Slack.
APG listeners, please join us on our Slack team. Slack is a communication, coordination, and sharing platform that works on your mobile, laptop, or browser. On Slack, we share news and ideas. We suggest episode and Plain Tales topics. We plan events and meetups. To get into the Slack team, please email me at slack@airlinepilotguy.com. That's SLACK, Sierra Lima Alpha Charlie Kilo @airlinepilotguy.com. Or send me a tweet with your preferred email address to @Hillel, and I'll send you an invitation. That's Hillel, spelled Hotel India 11 Echo 1, and see you in Slack.
All right, thanks, Hillel.
I keep flushing, but it's still in there, Jeff.
God, please. Oh, save us.
Thanks. TMI.
Wow.
All right. Yeah, he's a good guy.
Sorry, Jeff. It's a small cabin, isn't it?
It is.
So sorry.
I need to get out of here quickly. So let's go ahead and thank Liz Piper, our producer,
Liz,
for all the hard work she does, making us look smart, or sort of.
Yeah,
and much appreciated.
We are so smart.
And
SMRT.
Pardon me?
I said we are so smart. SMRT.
SMRT. What about the A? Yeah, I guess that's the whole point of that.
Carry on.
Yes, and we're going to sign off and wish you all clear skies, unlimited visibility, and tailwinds. Talons, Douglas.
Cheers, y'all.
Bye, everybody.
See you later.
Bye, everybody.
You can't say that. That's what I say.
I wouldn't go in there for a while, Captain.
Thank you.
No
I
kid.
think he knows.
Is there a fan or something in there that you can
No.
light a candle?
There is no fan.
Oh.
And there's a window that extends out into the covered porch in the back. So, yeah, not a lot of good ventilation in here.
You need a punka louvre.
So I've got a couple of title suggestions. Shall I
Okay.
share them?
Oh, yes, please.
Right, okay.
Okay. One is Show Me Your Fanny.
What?
Show me your fanny. Everybody was
the,
showing their
the big ass fannies.
big ass
Oh,
fannies.
okay,
Show
right.
me your fanny. Get stuffed. Because we were talking about stuffing. Get stuffed.
Stuffed.
Humping and dumping.
Get stuffed.
APG has unusual attitudes. That button, whatever button it is, something about something about the button.
Pushing buttons.
And I don't think we want to go there, but of course we did have some discussion around D-bags. But
So I will say this, and I did not say it during the show, but for as perverse a skydiver's mind may be on a day-to-day basis, we talk about D-bags an awful lot, but it just refers to the deployment bag, and that's just what it's called.
Oh, of course.
So.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Right.
we knew that. Didn't
No,
we?
I know you knew that. It's
No,
I
we
didn't.
I didn't either.
We didn't know that.
No,
Nick
didn't know
said
that.
it.
I think Jeff's pouring himself some more port there.
Yeah, I think he's gonna need it.
I think he had to get a new bottle.
Anyway, any other suggestions? That's all I came up with there. Anyway.
Well, that's good. That'll. I've got plenty there to go with.
Jeff, is the email for the meetup at airlinepilotguy.com?
Yes.
Yes.
Jeff, if I do show me your fanny, can I have a hairy beaver in that?
If you'd like. Now, I was told that fanny means something different in the UK than it does in the US.
Absolutely. In the UK, it is a hairy beaver.
I thought that would be more to do with the get stuffed thing, but whatever.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, you see, I'm thinking of combining hairy beavers, fannies, stuffing, humping, and dumping.
I just had it.
Wow. That's quite some title.
I can't wait for this, Art.
Maybe just go with D-bags.
I was going to give Captain Jeff a little bit of constructive feedback here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was a little surprised we didn't get the family show button once on this episode when we talked about
I'm so used to the way we're
Good point.
None of this phase. So had we been on PTUK, it would have been like on repeat. It'd be like family show.
We just don't.
Yeah, Matt would have been beside himself. He would have been having a terrible time. Poor chap.
Sorry, Matt.
It's because I can't find the darn thing. I don't know. Where is it?
That's what she said.
I hope not.
Anyway, you got something to work with.
That's not it. Here it is.
Family show, ladies and gentlemen.
There we
family
go.
Show.
That's all I had to do. Just hit the F key.
Family show, ladies and
So you got something to
F
work
key.
with there, Nick. Do you think you got something to work with?
Yes, I have.
Okay.
It's a matter of.
I don't know. It depends on who you ask.
Yeah, exactly. It's a matter of what rating I
Will
can
it pass
go
the
to on
censors?
this
That's
one.
what we need to know. Will it pass the censors?
We'll have to ask
Okay.
Jilly.
I mean, I think there may need to be two artworks, one for the crew and one for the general public.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
Here.
Well, hey, it's your time. It's your time and energy, Nick. We will appreciate it.
That's
whenever
true.
you
I've
put
got
into
all
it.
day tomorrow to do it.
Let's
it's
end
1
the
o'clock in the
broadcast and
morning.
have a quick
Yes,
chat about
'cause I
next week.
do need to go.
Okay.
Yes.
We're going to end the broadcast. Thanks, everybody, for showing up.
Bye.
We do
Yeah,
appreciate it. We
brilliant.
love you. We really do. Bye.
Yeah. Bye.
Okay. I know I hit the button.